Welcome to Through the Looking Glass. Today's episode, we're going to be covering some 90s nostalgia since we all grew up in the 90s. Shit today's kids wouldn't understand. But for now, I'm going to hand it on over to Russ.
Hi, everybody. Welcome again to another episode 7 of TTLG Podcast. Just remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, smash that Rumble button. Follow us on every social media that you can find us. Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, possibly TikTok, and any other ones that you find us on. We're still not on Instagram yet, but we're going to be working towards that as soon as we get more.
Just don't follow us physically in real life. That might be creepy.
Yeah. Straight to jail.
All
right. Come and join us on this fun little ride as we dive into the past and our childhoods.
Who wants to kick it off?
What's crazy to think is like that 70s show when we were younger, like we're now far enough away to, I mean, didn't they start at that 90s show? Because it's 20 years.
I think they did that 80s show, but it quickly flopped.
See, I thought they were doing
They
that
did
90s.
80s afterwards. It had one season, and then they did that 90s show recently.
Yeah, okay. That makes you feel a little old because when in the 90s it was that 70s show, and it's like, damn, man, we're at that point now where it's 20 years later and they have that 90s show. I don't feel that old, but it's like, holy shit, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they started that in, 01, 02?
No, I thought it was late 90s.
Maybe it was 99. Maybe. Something like that.
Nothing's ever going to beat Fez, so. Yeah. Oh, do you know why his name was Fez?
No, actually, enlighten me on that.
F-E-S, foreign exchange student, Fez.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that.
See, I thought it was Fez with a Z.
Right?
That seems a little racist.
Nah.
Sorry, sometimes I like to joke and call everything racist.
I mean, you can get away with it now. So.
Erica can't even tell me she needs a certain color paint because I'll just tell her that's racist.
You do that.
What if it's purple?
She's like, "Oh, I need some white paint." I'm like, "That's racist." Purple, racist. Still racist.
Are there purple people?
It's still racist though.
There could be. There could be purple people.
I mean, there's an inside joke in a community about being so much of one color that you look purple, but that's not for us to talk about.
So the
people that are just naturally lacking oxygen.
Yes, choking.
So season 1 of that 70s show began in 1998, August 23rd, 1998.
Wow. That was so that would be like
ended in 07?
Really younger year millennials and a part of Z.
Because I didn't start watching
season 8 ended in 2006, so you were close. Close.
That's wild. Oh, who was the girl? Mila Kunis? Another fun fact about that show: Mila Kunis actually was a minor when she started
was 15,
that show.
Right?
And I think the way it goes with her interview, they asked her, "Well, are you old enough, or when's your birth, or will you be old enough someday?" Yeah. And they just said, "I will be on my birthday," but they didn't say specifically. So she entered into a contract. Who knows if that's true? But yeah, when she entered into the contract, because she was a minor and her parents agreed to it, they couldn't really back out of it because all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Hey, the younger the better for Hollywood, right? Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, if your name is Weinstein, then for sure.
Or the dude that liked Feet from Nickelodeon. He was a producer.
Yeah. He's so strange.
I think he still works for them. Or
I thought I heard something about Tarantino liking Feet too.
Probably. But there
Maybe
was
him.
He was what? He did the iCarly show?
I know he did Sam and Cat.
Yeah. Okay, that. And there was a lot of weird feet stuff in it. And it turns out he had a foot fetish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there'd be a lot of scenes where they'd just be shaking their feet into the camera. And it's like, yo, why was that?
Shaking their feet or playing with each other's feet or just like squishing things.
Sucking on toes.
Yeah, a lot of weird stuff. Bro. Ugh. And wasn't there, there's been a couple of raids on Disneyland in Florida where they've caught like 20, 30
I'm not
employees.
surprised. So other than a bunch of weirdos from the 90s, who wants to kick it off with something they miss?
Yeah, we did kind of dive right into that. Man, stuff from the 90s, though. You remember moon boots?
Moon boots.
The moon boot commercials?
I don't know if I
think-
remember that.
So
strangely.
they were like shoes, right? They were platform
Did
shoes
they have
that you would
springs?
strap on your shoes, and they were trampolines.
As soon as Jesse said the springs, now I remember. They were like
Yeah.
purple and green, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep, I remember now.
I remember they got sued so hard because people were just breaking their ankles, absolutely annihilating themselves.
Well,
That
yeah.
was like the best, worst idea
It's
ever.
like a pogo stick with no handle.
We probably all had some bad ideas in the 90s. Like, so my neighbor and I, when we were kids in the 90s, we played a game on his trampoline called the drop kick game. And the idea was there's one person in the center whose objective is to drop kick all the other players off the trampoline while they're jumping up and down, bouncing around. I'm surprised nobody broke a neck, man.
That sounds fun as hell.
If you're up in the air and somebody drop kicks you, that force is going to send you flying off the trampoline. So you're like in the air trying to like juke the other person out and
You guys remember like double bouncing and everything?
Oh,
like
popcorning?
popcorn.
Popcorn,
Oh,
double
yeah.
bouncing. We used to play this game, Don't Break the Egg, where you would just be in the center in a ball.
Yep.
And to scare somebody into
Here's-
flailing
Here's a
out.
question. Did you ever play skate on a trampoline? It's like playing horse with basketball, but you have to do the same trick the person in front of you did. You take the trucks and everything off the skateboard, so it's just the board. Oh, man, that game was super fun.
We did
That'd
it
be kinda
on
cool.
a trampoline with a basketball hoop.
Okay.
But, yeah, we never did
Oh
it.
yeah, jumping for hoops.
Yeah,
and
we did
stuff
the-
like that.
we did the
or
skate
putting
tricks.
a trampoline right next to the swimming pool,
Mm-hmm.
doing that.
We also used to jump off my buddy's garage onto the trampoline, similar
Yep.
to the way we would with another buddy's pool, because they had garage trampoline pool. Our one friend did, so we could jump off the garage. And his garage, it sloped down like this to a flat spot, so there was literally like a runway where you could run and jump into the pool.
Yeah. Oh man, the good old days.
Man, I saw some kids playing some hard tackle football the other day on a delivery, and I was like, man, that brings back the good memories from the 90s, because I feel like I hardly see kids outside playing, especially tackle football
Yeah,
anymore.
Not at all.
But I mean, everybody's constantly on their phones nowadays, so it is hard to notice anything.
Yeah, we didn't have that.
Yeah. One thing
We
I
had
can
our
say,
64s.
one thing I can say in our neighborhood, we do see a lot of kids in the summertime over at the basketball park at
Yes, for sure.
at Grove Park.
Basketball is
So-
one thing that really hasn't died out. You always see
Yeah.
people there.
Mhm. That's what sucked about the situation is they took down the rims, so people couldn't go play basketball.
Yeah,
That was sad to
Mhm.
see, man.
that was
Yep.
awful.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff
People were putting
happened.
their own up.
Yeah, or just have the ones that you at home with the weighted cement things or whatever. You just drag it out into the street, play basketball out there.
What was your guys' favorite children's block television back in the day?
Cartoon Network, for sure.
What block? Like specifically, like Saturday morning cartoons. Like, what did you wake up and get excited to go watch?
Pokemon. I loved watching Pokemon, in the
Oh
morning.
yeah, Kids WB.
Even though
That's
I was more of a Nickelodeon guy overall, but like waking up and watching Pokemon, I loved it.
yeah,
Loved it.
that was my first thing I had written down. When Pokemon first came out,
Yep.
nobody knew what it was. But they loved it.
Mhm.
Absolutely
Yeah.
loved it.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome. I just remember I almost can name the years that it happened, but when I was the youngest, I would watch Warner Brothers and of course catch like Animaniacs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But then I found Nickelodeon and I watched Nickelodeon for probably 10, 12 years because they had all the good shows. They had
Yeah, Hey Arnold.
the-
Hey Arnold was
Hey Arnold
Yeah.
was
Top
great.
three
Every
of all
every kid
time.
wanted Hey Arnold's bedroom.
oh, yeah.
yes, but not even just that, but they had like Raiders of the Lost Ark
Mhm.
and the Slime Game.
Yeah, some of these, because
Pinky
and
you
the
guys are a couple
Good.
years older than me, and these were like 93, 94,
Yeah.
95. I was like 4 years old. I don't quite remember them enough.
But-
Pinky and the Brain, was that WB?
It was
I thought
Warner
so.
Brothers. That was a part of the Animaniacs. And then after that, once I got a little bit older, I definitely remember going to Cartoon Network because they had Johnny
Yeah.
Bravo, the
And then once
Powerpuff
Dragon
Girls, Samurai.
Ball Z hit.
Yeah, Toonami.
Oh,
Yeah,
Toonami.
that would actually be
Yeah,
it.
once-
Toonami was the greatest block of all time.
Yeah, once I got a
First
bit older,
generation
yeah, because
Toonami.
that started in like 97, 98,
Yep.
somewhere.
First
or
time
no,
I'd ever
96
seen
or something.
any kind of anime.
But yeah,
We had
Toonami.
Sailor Moon,
Insane.
Gundam Wing, Dragon Ball Z. Fantastic.
What was
Dexter's
that?
Laboratory.
Hamtaro was
Dexter's
on
I
there?
was
like that
awesome.
one.
Oh yeah, Hamtaro, Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yep. Mm.
They showed that for a little while. But once I saw Gundam, I knew that whatever this art style was, this is what's for me.
I hated it.
Gundam,
I hate all Gundam.
which is so weird because I don't like the new Gundams. Like the new shows are kind of weird.
So what is Gundam? Fill an ignorant person in.
Giant mech warriors.
Yeah, giant mechanized robots.
Okay.
It's like futuristic, Earth 1,000 years into the future. The Earth is broken into different sects where there's an Earth Federation, and then Mars and the Moon and the other planets in our solar system have decided to revolt against Earth. And a lot of the huge manual labor, considering it's in outer space, is done with giant mechanized robots. Well, they became militarized, so great wars broke out. And yeah, there were specialized pilots who were S-class or basically savants at the mobile suits,
Okay.
and they were just unstoppable. And it was fantastic. And there were specific suits designed and created called Gundams, which normal people would not be able to handle. It would basically kill the pilot. But these savant pilots handled them no problem.
Okay.
Never got that
Pretty
far
dope.
into it.
That was Gundam Wing, the original
And there's like
Gundam.
Gundam Zero.
Yeah. Gundam S Seed,
Those are
Endless
10
Waltz.
different ones.
There's like 30 or 40 now. Actually, one of the newer ones that I do like is Gunpla Gundam.
Gunpla Gundam.
Gunpla Gundam. So it's like, as we are right now with our technology,
Is it like a prequel?
No. So it's not where they're actual giant mechanized robots. They turned Gundam because it became such a huge hit amongst kids and everything. They turned it into a game to where they have holographical models of Gundams, and you are a player who is controlling this model to defeat the other team.
So
pretty good.
it's like OG Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it was really cool.
And that's new? Or was it?
6-7 years now.
Hmm.
It's
I'm gonna
actually
have to
really cool.
watch it.
Yeah, Gunpla.
Another one I had a question on. What channel was Captain Planet on?
That was
Cartoon-
Warner Brothers.
Warner
was
Brothers.
it?
That was another
Pretty
one.
sure
of
that
those?
was Warner
Okay.
Brothers.
Yeah, Captain Planet was another one I really liked.
That was
Oh, that's right.
child-friendly
It was on-
propaganda.
It was
You
on free
realize that?
TV
Yeah,
because we had that for a little bit when I was a kid.
that
we,
was
we only
definitely
got like channel 3 and 16 and news and
There were a couple channels that had cartoons early morning, weren't there? When we were younger, but then
Warner
they just kind of
Brothers,
like
Nickelodeon.
conglomerated into...
I mean, there was PBS that was more for little kids, but they still had some bangers like Arthur.
Yes, Arthur was good.
It's garbage now, but
I
We
remember
actually
when
brought up
Sesame
Arthur at
Street
work the other day.
Sesame Street used to be good, but that's when we were young.
yeah.
So slightly off topic, but you had mentioned the Powerpuff Girls from Cartoon Network.
Love the Powerpuff
Here's a
Girls.
question. What is Chemical X?
Something that a mad scientist came up with that was basically a concoction of cocaine and Adderall.
I think it was MDMA. When you look at
Did
their
they ever
when
explain?
you look at their pupils are giant. They're super colorful and bright, like everything on MDMA is. MDMA is referred to as X or ecstasy. I think Chemical X was MDMA. That's just my own personal theory. Other people might disagree, but I like it, so I'm going to stick to it.
Well, they were the only characters in the show that didn't have like feet or hands. They were specifically designed to be different.
Well,
from
in
all
that
the
one
other
episode
characters.
where it was like Butch, the rowdy rough boys.
Yeah, they were like the opposite. They
Yeah.
made Chemical X, but they
They
did
had
everything that would
snakes
make
and
boys.
something and puppy dog tails, snakes, scales, puppy dog tails,
Yep.
something like that. I love that episode.
One of the strangest things, though, is I didn't think about this as a kid, but now that I look back, I'm like, wow, that was kind of deranged. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
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 He was like the devil, but with crab
Yeah,
claws.
yeah, he was like a
and wore
cross-dressing
fishnets.
devil crab.
Yeah.
Yeah, when
that
my
was
dad seen that, he didn't
strange.
want me to watch that anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, it was like they were depicting the devil, and this is so. If your dad would understand that, maybe he'd be like, "Oh, well, this is actually these superhero girls are beating up the devil." Yeah. I do like how they, in one episode, finally did explain that it was actually Mojo Jojo's fault for creating the Powerpuff Girls.
Oh yeah, because he
Yeah.
was the
was
professor's lab monkey.
Yep,
and
and he
knocked,
pushed
yeah.
the professor. Some of those shows, man.
So not cartoon related, but still on TV. Another thing I miss from the 90s is when MTV actually had music and played music videos a lot more. What was it? Total Request Live, TRL?
Yeah.
I remember the first video ever retired from that was Korn. I think it was Freak on a Leash. It was either Freak on a Leash or Got the Life. I think it was Got the Life. Got the Life.
What was his name? Who was the host?
Johnny Carson. I thought
Wasn't
it was
Seacrest?
No, I thought it was Johnny Carson.
I
Wasn't
don't know
Google.
what that is.
I swear Seacrest was the host of something on MTV.
The only thing I ever watched on MTV was Headbangers Ball.
Carson Daly. So I was right in saying
Carson
Carson, but it wasn't
Daly.
Johnny Carson.
So what did
Carson
Seacrest
Daly.
do?
I
I thought he was something on the
American-
radio.
American
Yeah,
Idol?
I'm probably just getting them.
I thought
wrong.
he was some like Hot 100 on the radio or something on the weekends.
Maybe. I'm probably just getting the names wrong.
I'm going to
that's
Google
all.
it for you. No,
But wasn't,
I know you're
uh,
right. He did. He hosted something. What was his name?
Early American Idol, I think. One of those talent shows.
I just remember him
Ryan
being like,
Seacrest.
I'm Ryan Seacrest and peace out or something. But didn't Beavis and Butthead start on MTV?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so,
Yeah.
And Mad,
And
right?
Daria, remember her?
That was on MTV.
I think so.
They
Yeah,
all
they
had
were-
to do with each
yeah.
other.
They were
It
the
was- I think it was
edgelords.
the same
They were
dude.
edgelord. Wow.
So he hosted American Idol. It looks like,
Yeah,
and he
that's-
always did Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve celebration on the
Never heard of it.
radio. So you said you didn't ever hear of Total Request Live on MTV? So basically what that was is you could call in to MTV and vote for which music video that you liked the most. And it would go by votes. They did like a top 10 countdown where they would play the music videos. Not
At
the whole
at the end of
video,
the week or
but
something, they do the top.
I thought they
10
did one every day. I thought there
every
was,
day?
yeah, I thought there was
Pretty
a
sure.
TRL
Yeah.
every day. And
I mean, you could do it, right? It was right in New York City, so
Yep,
you always
Times
had a
Square.
live audience. And of course, you would get call-ins, and it would kind of correlate with, the hit music of
Yeah.
the week. So it's
Do you
not
wanna
like you were
know-
going to get a random.
do you want to know what song actually was number one time on Total Request Live?
Probably Eminem, the Stan song, like
No.
1,000 times.
Did they only do?
Tom Green's The Bum Bum song. And it was number one once until Tom Green was actually on MTV. I think he was there that episode and basically said, "Don't vote for my song. There's real artists and musicians out there. Like vote for their
So
stuff."
they were voting for meme
Pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah.
way back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
mean,
the
memes
first
have always existed. It's
Yeah.
just we've changed the name.
the first song ever retired from Total Request Live, I think it was on there for 60 days straight, was Korn's "Got the Life."
Really?
Yep.
Damn.
Because I think after 60 days they would retire. 60 days consecutively being on there, they would retire it from
That
the
would make
countdown.
sense. It would get a bit boring if it was
Mhm.
the same 5 songs or something for 2, 3. Oh, they do the same thing in today's radio.
Yeah.
We listened to the radio earlier. It felt like it was the same 5 songs for hours.
Yeah, get ready for
But it's
Christmas
always been
coming up
that.
because the Christmas songs are going to be on repeat now here soon.
Yeah.
Dude, I worked at a grocery store, my first ever job, and right after Thanksgiving, it was, oh my goodness, annoying. After the first 2 days of hearing Christmas music, you just wanted to stop.
Well, 94 used to be a really good mix of music. They'd even play some hard rock on there. They
Yeah.
would play today's hits, but it was
What are they now?
mainly just pop. It was Selena Gomez played like the same song 3 times in an hour. Then it was Usher. And
Probably some Swifty music.
No Taylor Swift.
Really? No
Yeah,
Swift?
they don't really play.
That's always what
Interesting.
94 rock has been.
Wait, no, they
is
did have
they've
one.
always played what's popular. They understood
Yeah.
that.
But they would play like 15 to 20 different songs within a couple hours span. It seems like 5 or 6 songs are getting played in a couple hours span. That's why
Radio's basically dead. So,
yeah. Radio's always been kind of garbage.
AM's all right. I like listening. I used to like listening to AM, like real classical music, but now music that we grew up with in the 80s and 90s are considered kind of classical.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
been 20 years, so yeah. 90s music is on the classical rock station just like 70s was in the 90s.
But I love listening to Johnny Cash or just Mozart, Bach sometimes.
That's what I listen to when I write is
Mozart and Bach.
Mozart, Bach, Chopin, just all classical music.
Like listening to Dean every once in a while, like classics like that.
Speaking of music from the 90s, man, I'll tell you what, give me a
Dean
whole
Martin,
playlist of Hootie and the Blowfish and Alanis Morissette. I loved them when I was a kid.
Was never a fan of either.
I liked them both as a
Hootie
kid.
and the Blowfish, pretty good.
I like Darius Rucker's voice.
I believe that's one thing I do miss about the 90s. I felt like summers in the 90s as a kid, there was always upbeat, hot summer music that would just live out the whole summer. That's something I definitely miss.
You just triggered a memory in me trying to make mixtapes in the 90s with your cassette decks and like recording what was on the radio.
Yep.
Or we had that Home Alone thing where I also used to put a cassette in there to record and I would hold the thing you speak in up to the radio to record the music.
Talk Boy.
Yeah, the Talk Boy or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it's called.
And it was so hard. If you didn't know who a singer, who a band was back then,
Mhm.
Yeah.
good luck
Yeah.
trying to figure it out. You'd have to ask everybody.
Now
Be
they
like,
got that
What's
app.
this song?
Now they got that app you can whistle the tune into and it'll
Yeah.
Yeah.
pull up what it
You
thinks
play
it
2
is.
seconds of it and
Yeah.
it tells you right.
But that's the thing. Back in the 90s, you'd have to go talk to people
Yeah.
and figure it out.
Mhm.
Or you could go to your local CD shop or something and they would constantly have music playing and then you would just cruise around and then when your song comes on, you go talk to one of the workers and be like, yo, what's this song?
Calling the radio station sounding like Mr. Krabs. Play that one song again that goes bee boo boo bop. Bee boo bop.
Bee bee boo bop. Ba ba bop.
Another TV thing, since we're still like kind of on TV and music, and this will probably never ever be matched or replicated again, was the Attitude Era of the WWF. It began in like the late 90s. The Attitude Era was the best era for the WWF. It had kids running around doing the fucking crotch chop. Suck it!
And the Wolf Pack. Or
Wolfpack. Yeah, that was from
that was WCW.
WCW.
That's all I watched. I
But
didn't watch any
the
WWF.
cool thing where there was like almost like the war going on between WCW and WWF, where they were both like competing with each other.
Yeah.
They actually did a documentary about that a couple years back, or in the early 2010s. It was called, I think, can't remember what it was called, but it was basically like the war between the WCW and WWF for Monday nights, because I think they were both on Monday nights.
I was like
Oh yeah, because there was
Triple
Monday
H,
Night Raw.
Steve Austin, right?
I think it might have been called
Yeah.
Raw versus War.
I remember
Or-
Raw.
There's Raw. Raw is War. I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
what
where
that-
that's coming from. Because
Yeah,
that's
I don't know what
you're
that-
right.
that- Never watched.
But yeah, it was like a multi-part docu-series about the whole battle between WCW and WWF.
Yeah, WWF scared me a little bit. WCW was a little more clean. They were more proper. They were nicer to each other. WWF, man, they had people throwing people on tacks and
I watched that.
blood and
I watched that guy that looked like a correction officer get hung by a noose when I was like 8 years
Big
old. I was
boss-
like,
Big
yeah,
Boss Man.
yeah. I think Undertaker hung him, and I'm like sitting there in my living room at like 8 years old, like, oh my god, I just watched a man die. And then you got
They
Val
did do a
Venus
lot.
fucked himself to death or something like that, or yeah. They had a skit where like he was having sex with a girl, and then they said he had a heart attack or something from basically doing that. Or there was another skit where like either he got his penis chopped off or they chopped someone else's penis. Yeah,
I
they
do
would.
remember that.
They would not allow that on TV today. That's
I
what
knew
I mean.
all the
Like,
characters from playing
No, they would
the
definitely
games.
allow that on TV for.
today, I don't know, man.
But I remember they definitely went way over the top because they wanted viewers. I remember seeing things with like Triple H where he would always have problems with people, but there was one thing where I don't know, some woman was giving him fellatio in a hot tub, but then Stone Cold Steve Austin like drove a truck into somebody, and just they went over the top because
Stone Cold
it is a show.
He went to the hospital and beat the piss out of the boss with a freaking piss pan.
Yeah, man. I remember just wrestling in the 80s with Hogan and everything. It was a different era.
I was only alive for like 2 months in the late 80s, so I don't
like
don't
the early
remember that.
90s. I watched a lot of like rerun stuff from
Mhm.
Hulk Hogan. He was always pretty dope.
Yeah, my parents had the old like SummerSlam and WrestleMania videos from like WrestleMania 2, 3, 4,
Mhm.
5. So I like the Ultimate Warrior. I feel like I've always kind of been like a wild person because I got so much fucking energy
He was
sometimes.
in my top 5.
So
Sting was always number 1.
Sting.
Then,
Oh,
then Goldberg.
I loved Sting.
Oh,
How could you not like Goldberg? He was just this fucking beastly dude that would go in there and only be in there for 5 minutes or less and just kick your ass. And then what was his finishing move called there?
The jackhammer.
Wasn't it the Tombstone?
He had the jackhammer and the spear.
Yeah, he'd spear
Oh,
people
yeah,
and then
he'd
hit them
spear
with
people.
hold them up and do the
Hit him with
jackhammer.
the jackhammer.
Yeah, the Tombstone pile driver was the Undertaker.
Okay. Who was so he didn't do a lot of fights, but he was like, so there was the Undertaker, of course, and then Kane, who was like his little
Mhm.
brother.
Yep.
But then the third masked guy who only ever showed up to like interfere with people's fights, where he had like the weird gimpy mask, and it just covered his face where he had teeth. And he
You talking about Mankind?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Mankind,
was in a lot of matches.
yeah,
he
he
was their
always
champion
wrestled.
at one point, and he was also Dude Love and Cactus Jack.
Then maybe it's not.
Yeah, he's a
Mankind.
legend for being the only person to be in the Royal Rumble 3 times.
He was just on Hot Ones.
Yeah, was he?
Yeah.
Oh man, he's
Maybe
actually
I'm thinking of
when you
somebody
hear
else.
his life story, it's probably why he's my still favorite wrestler to this day, just
Yeah,
because of
he's
his
up
life
there.
story.
Mm.
That
Maybe I
man
am
put his
thinking of
body
somebody
through
else,
hell for people's entertainment. He's the one that got thrown off the Hell in the Cell through the table, and then got slammed through it. It wasn't supposed to break, and he got slammed through it. Separated his shoulder. One of his teeth ended up
Went
popping
through
out
it,
and went
yep.
through his nose.
Yeah.
Like that man literally put his body through hell for people's entertainment.
And he
Jeez.
doesn't look in too bad a shape.
You can tell when he walks, his body's probably
Yeah.
a little painful, but
You got to imagine you're just a professional faller at that point, you know?
yeah.
So,
I mean, well, he was in the what was it?
It's like
The
a
East.
stuntman that's bad at his job.
What was it? The ECW, the Extreme Championship Wrestling,
Yeah.
where they were always getting slammed on tacks and had the barbed
Yeah,
wire
they went-
baseball
they
bats.
went
That's
wild
that's
in
what he
that.
was doing before the WWF. So,
yeah.
and it was actually the WCW that screwed themselves by revealing he was going to become their champion one night, and it caused everyone to flood from watching WCW's show over to WWF's to watch him win the belt. That's in that documentary series I was telling you about. That was one of the worst moves WCW could have made.
It only takes one big mistake.
Another thing that just randomly popped in my head, I don't know what caused it to pop in there from the 90s. Discovery Zone.
Oh yeah, you were talking about
I
that
just
before.
talked, yeah,
I
DZ Zone.
don't know what that is.
Oh, man. It was like Chuck E. Cheese on steroids.
It was so good. So good.
They had all these things you could run through and
it was
climb
basically
on
a
and
giant
ball
maze
pit.
pit.
And yeah.
Like, you remember the show American Gladiators?
Yeah.
That for children. So they would have tubes you could climb
Mhm.
through, elastic bands you would like slip down through. They had a ball pit.
Oh,
DZ
man.
Zone was awesome.
I missed that.
Discovery
It was-
Zone
I
was
never got to
amazing.
do that.
It was
And we can actually blame Chuck E. Cheese for it. I learned a couple years ago it was actually Chuck E. Cheese that bought out Discovery Zone, and then all the Discovery Zones closed, and Chuck E. Cheese was like a weak-ass impersonator.
Yeah, of course. Well, they had
Motherfuckers.
major competition. Chuck E. Cheese was probably like in risk of like going out of business. And DZ Zone, you know what it probably was? It was probably a Chuck E. Cheese disgruntled employee who was like, I'll fucking show you, Chuck E. Cheese. You're going to suck my by the end of this. And then just started up and started making all these things. And it was like, that's right, Chucky. You tell me who's boss.
I mean, something kind of related to that. The McDonald's playgrounds.
Oh.
Yeah, where did they go? I feel like you hardly ever see those anymore.
Too much liability involved.
Too much maintenance. They probably just figured it wasn't worth it.
Nah,
But
we
man,
just became a bunch of pussies.
Like the weird squishy ground and going through the tubes and.
But at the same time, that was before. So I think they started doing the playgrounds in like the late 80s, early 90s. That's why we had all those weird color schemes.
Mm-hmm. Yellow
and
and
that
red.
was before they started like really automating most of the stuff, right? So in the late 80s, early 90s, if you wanted to go McDonald's, well, it was going to take more than 5 minutes. You actually went to McDonald's to go eat supper with your family.
Yeah.
So you would go,
Yeah,
order,
we would always sit
kids
there,
would play,
usually sit there.
and then you'd wait for your order.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the mid 90s, McDonald's took the stance of we want to be fast food. We want to try to get as many people in and out as possible. Like,
Which is
what are you
weird
gonna do?
because they
Play
went
for
to
2 minutes.
they went to fast food. Now they're back to we're kind of fast food.
Yeah,
They're so much slower than they were in the 90s. I swear,
It's-
everywhere. It's probably because everyone's understaffed. That's another thing we can miss from the 90s is where corporate places were better fully staffed. Now everywhere's understaffed.
Well, almost all food joints took the fast food stance where it became, all right, we're just going to have a lot of employees work hard and fast.
Well, that's what they
and then
want.
Yeah.
Because the more employees you put in there, the less they work. Because they always think that somebody else is going to do the job.
Maybe.
And because that happened.
It depends on
happened at
environment.
Domino's. When we got more people worked less because we could share the load instead of.
Depends on the environment. I believe it depends on the environment. If you have a good environment where you can make people feel enthusiastic about their job, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but
You know?
who's excited to flip burgers?
Yeah. Anymore?
I am if I'm cooking them for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you could. It takes a very charismatic person to
it's a
really
rare breed.
create a zone
100,
like that.
1 200.
And chances are they're not going to be in a fast food place for long because there's really no incentive, right? Like, what are you going to do? Be a GM for a couple of years, earning maybe $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year? Sure, that's cool for a little while you get some experience, but then you're not going to do that forever. So, and there's no one ever to pass the torch on to because
I know a couple people made careers of being like McDonald's managers, like
sure,
got up to being like regional managers and
Yeah, once
because
you get
those
that
spots
high,
are very cushy.
yeah.
Very
100K
But
a year.
man, if
from
you
my
if you
understanding,
mess up, you're
straight to jail.
Yeah,
You can always roll that shit right downhill. You know, if you're the regional manager, you're not in every single store. Something happens, and you're just like, you get a hold of the GM of that store and be like, "Yo, what are you fucking doing? You're about to cost me my job. You got one shot." So, but I think that's really what it's become. You know, things used to be where places were like, oh, we're family here. We're here to work together to make everybody's life easier. And now it's just everybody's like, yo, if you put my job at risk, you're fucked. And it's just that rolling downhill constantly and nobody cares. It's like, bro, we're flipping burgers. Like, I don't care if you lose your job.
So one more thing I have written down that has to do with TV. Remember when they used to do all the time capsules? Where it would be like the Nickelodeon time capsule. They'd put a bunch of stuff and they'll be like, we're going to uncover it in 2040. And you got like Facebook pages that are dedicated to like,
there's still
hey
some
guys,
of those that haven't
we got
been
9
opened.
years, 2 days. And
we
because
have-
a lot of them are opening up soon.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them are like in the 2030 or
That's going to be
somewhere
fun to
in there.
watch those be
It's gonna
open.
be so cool.
That just gave me some
Just
excitement.
Imagine how many like VHS tapes are going to be in there
Yeah.
or cassette tapes.
Just
And
Yeah.
vials of slime. people
people open it up and they're going to be like, yo, how does this work? And you're just going to take a number 2 pencil and just.
And they'll be like, they'll try to watch it, but nobody has a VHS player around.
Yeah.
Like, oops.
Man, I miss VHS.
Man, the moment when you freak out when the VHS player starts spitting out the tape and everything, and you're like, oh my God, and you got to
I hated VHS.
wind it all back together.
So it would just eat your tape up.
Yeah.
You had a terrible VHS.
People
It
don't know
happens to
that
everybody.
struggle.
Eventually, once it starts going, it'll eat your tape up, and you're like, oh, time to get a new one.
Oh, for
Dead.
sure. Yeah. I had one of
And
those.
then your
prickly grinders.
Rugrats movie is ruined, and you don't want to live anymore.
They were perfect. I loved them. That transition though from like cassette tape or whatever that technology was called, where
VHS and
it's like the
cassettes.
picture tape.
Yeah,
It went from
the
that to DVD
And
to
CDs.
digital so fast.
Very fast.
yeah,
20 years.
96 was the first CDs.
20
95,
years.
96.
Let me
And then it went to
pull it
CD
up
where
on
we were
Google.
burning CDs and having Walkmans.
Yeah, 'cause I
and
remember
then
when,
Blu-ray.
When it was first coming out, it was Metallica Load or Reload, something like that, in the mid 90s. That was on CD, and my dad was like, "What the heck is this stuff?" And then
Oh wow, okay. So
It's a small record player.
So CDs are actually a little
no.
older than we thought.
88.
No,
82.
CDs themselves,
82?
CD technology is old, but like mainstream,
Yeah,
if you want to go
like mass produced,
buy an album for
Yeah.
your favorite like artist or whatever, it's probably not.
Yeah, the first ever album to be released on CD was Billy Joel's 52nd Street, and it reached the market alongside Sony's CD player, the CDP-101, on October 1st, 1982 in Japan.
Yeah, now that I
Oh,
thought about it, I thought it
Japan?
was in the late
Okay.
80s, but I didn't know it was in the early 80s.
So it wasn't
That
until
took a while
it wasn't
to-
until March 2nd, 1983 that CD players and discs were released in the United
Man, that's
States.
still way earlier
So
than I
Japan
thought.
beat us to it.
Yeah. Huh. That took a while to catch some steam, though, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, because I remember I was still using, or my parents were still using cassettes in the early 90s.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
for sure. Man.
I
I
guess
saw
it's
that.
similar. Like we were similar to like the Middle Eastern countries that were just getting like CDs in the 2000s.
They were getting all of our hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what,
They
though, when
do.
I was in Iraq, man, I don't know how they were doing it, but we were watching movies in Iraq before they were even in theaters here. Terrible quality because they were being filmed with little camcorders in movie theaters. But
Yeah.
I mean, when you're in Iraq and you want some new entertainment, you don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty impressive how like things like Iron Man and
Well,
The Hangover I was able to watch before my
It was
friends
a,
were.
yeah, it was a lot easier for people to
isn't that a right, though? If you work on a movie set, right? Isn't
No,
it
you're-
your right to be a part of the screening?
well, yes, they allowed
So,
people
yeah.
to watch early, but then some people would sneak a camcorder
Sure.
in and record
And that's
the movie.
exactly why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly
It was
why.
probably
'cause-
easier in releases in the Middle East than it was in America.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot easier back then. Now it's hard to find movies early.
I mean, almost all movie theaters nowadays have like night vision cameras to like record the audience. So, and that was proven. Thanks, Bobert.
Yeah, so now I got interested and just Googled the first DVD, which
Let me see your pen.
came out September of
Cross all
1996.
the ones that I
96?
talked
Yup.
about.
Okay.
So, and it wasn't until March 24th, 97 that they were released in America.
DVDs caught on pretty fast, I believe. Because, yeah, like you guys said, it was people got tired of the VCR, especially one of the best advertisements, I think. No more rewinding. And I was like, bro, it takes like 4 minutes. I always liked
really never
rewinding
took long.
VHS because it
Yeah.
would like start out slow and
That
then
was
when
always-
it gets to the end, it's
Yeah, that was always my job. If we didn't have a VCR that rewind, they would take it out and be like, "Here you go, sit there and rewind it by hand for us."
really. I thought like VCRs that would rewind themselves were always a thing.
I don't think it was a.
I remember having
Didn't
a
which-
separate rewinder.
Which movie place didn't they have a slogan that was like "Be kind, rewind" before
Uh,
returning it?
Blockbuster,
It
maybe.
may have been. It was either
Blockbuster or
Which,
Hollywood Video.
Maybe
Maybe.
Hollywood Video. Oh man, I love Blockbusters though.
I think
Oh,
they all started saying that.
Speaking
slogan.
of, it would have either been part of this where we're recording the podcast now, or right next door. Do you guys remember Video King?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
It was right here in this plaza.
I get video games in every once in a while with the old Video King label on them.
Really?
Yep.
That's
That's
interesting.
wild.
Not very often, but
Yeah, and they had it set up. There was like a little castle in there the kids could run around in.
Yeah.
The way they had it set up was like a little kingdom.
Oh, do you miss GameStop? Like
I
being
was-
younger.
I used to live right across right down the street from them. I was in there every day.
I miss going up to the mall with friends and like oh man, this game's gonna be released, and I remember that. Late teenager, probably like 16 to like 22ish. Oh, midnight release of this game. Man, that was a throwback. Bro, I'm gonna have like 9 monsters, and we're gonna stay up all night and game.
We did that with Skyrim.
Yeah.
3 days straight, not moving.
Oof.
I slept for 2 hours, maybe.
God, being able to stay up late when you were younger was so much easier than it is when you get older.
When's the last time you tried to pull an all-nighter?
Oh, I can if I take LSD.
It's not that you can; it's that you're forced to. When's
Yeah,
the last
it's
time you did
chemically
all-nighter?
All-nighter? One time I had to open, and it was already 4 a.m., and I'm like, well, no point.
Yeah, that's easy because then if you're at work and you're working, then you just kind of keep going.
Oh, no, after that. Actually, it was 2018. It was right before the pandemic. We took a road trip to a Magic tournament, and I had closed. And then they picked me up at like 3 a.m.
Who's clicking the pen? I can hear that.
Oops.
It's pretty loud.
Give me my pen back. I definitely noticed.
Yeah, I was awake for 38 hours or something like that.
Yeah, stuff like that's rough.
And then I slept for 13 hours.
I know. I used to do all-nighters all the time, especially when I was like super depressed and everything, having bad spouts. I would just play games for 20 some hours straight.
You ever done a double all-nighter?
Stay up for like 3 days. I've done that.
Yeah, I did a sleep deprivation experiment on myself once. I'll get into that another time. There was definitely some drugs involved.
I've tried a deprivation experiment. It's very hard because like when you start nodding, even going for like a walk, you'll still be nodding as you're walking. That's tough. But I noticed probably when I turned 33, it feels like almost on the dot. When I turned 33, doing all-nighters is near impossible. I was like, wow, this really is a sign that my body is telling me to cut this shit out.
Unless it's chemically induced, then it's a little easier.
Yeah, if you got some of that cocaina, then things are a little bit easier.
Oh, some acid will keep you up all night, too.
So do you think that, well, it's not whether that we think, but how does it feel knowing that we're not the only generation to have like thoughts of nostalgia? So like our parents have obviously gone through the same thing.
A couple of years ago, I actually read an interesting article that was stating like partially why millennials are a little more depressed than past generations. It's because we've seen things change so fastly that in our late 20s, early 30s, we were having the same kind of nostalgia that our parents were having in their 40s and 50s and stuff, remembering back to their life. So we were getting this kind of nostalgia for the way things used to be even quicker because things were changing so fast. And that makes me wonder about the next generation. Like technology is just advancing so quickly and so fast. Like how soon are kids that were Gen Z, are they going to start having nostalgia? Like
there's probably like 15-year-olds that are having nostalgia over SpongeBob. So, you know.
Wait, SpongeBob's not on TV anymore?
No, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I mean,
what are
like,
they going to have nostalgia about? There's not really.
Before the metaverse.
Before they got on the internet.
The metaverse is coming.
I would say before they get on the internet. So, like, of course, you're not going to let 5-6-year-olds on the to watch YouTube videos and stuff, but like to actually have free reign access to the internet, a lot of people won't allow their kids. I think that would be a big nostalgia kick for people.
Aside from some music,
but
there's not a lot of defining features of the last 20 years.
What's that noise?
That was probably me playing with the cord. Defining features over the last 20 years.
From 2010s.
I just feel like once we can enter
clothing style and stuff.
Everybody just
no, because you remember when we were kids, the style that our parents dressed up us. We would be 12 years old, dressing up in like Mickey Mouse clothes, looking like we're 6.
Or
nowadays, 10-year-olds are dressed like they're 30.
Or everybody had those one weird. They were like NBA jackets. I feel like I remember so many people having these colorful NBA jackets. I don't know if you remember the ones I'm talking about. Let me pull up a picture real quick.
I do.
Like the windbreaker type?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking
And
about.
breakaway pants.
Yeah,
Breakaway
I had
pants.
a couple of those.
I always wanted a pair of those.
Speaking
One
of
thing I
which,
definitely
Jinko
jeans.
I never had a pair. I wanted them so bad.
They're so good. Yeah, I think we all, especially Chicago Bulls,
Yep.
because of Michael Jordan. I would say, what's the other really weird? It was only like 3 or 4 years, but all of the like Looney Tunes characters dressed as thugs and gangsters and stuff.
Yeah, like the early
Bro,
2003,
I would
2004.
see so many people dressed in that. I was like, you look stupid. You look absolutely ridiculous.
It was
But
cringe.
now I look back and I'm like, oh, I probably look like that to the younger generation now. Dressing the way I do or in certain clothing to the younger generations where they have these, I don't know, I guess just flat out better style. You know?
I don't know though, because the younger generation now, and I think it's influenced sweatpants. I actually like baggier sweatpants, but now all the sweatpants they have at Walmart are like tight. Jeans are tighter. Sweatpants are tighter. Why? I don't want tight ass pants. I want to be loose and comfortable.
Yeah, they're more joggers instead
Yeah.
of sweatpants nowadays.
It's weird.
It's
I
hard to
don't,
find regular baggy sweatpants.
Oh, one
and I
thing
need
the
them with
younger
the extra
generation,
pockets too. I love my extra pockets, the cargo pant pocket style.
One thing this younger generation is never going to be allowed to escape from is the rompers. Never. I'm never going to let them live this down.
I didn't even know what that was until
Rompers.
a couple of years
Those
ago.
Me
just-
neither. It's
Those
it's
just
a
seem
onesie.
like a pain in the ass when you got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, it's an adult onesie.
Yeah.
That's
I
all it is.
remember having
No, it's
overalls
a
and I
romper.
couldn't undo them. And I got home from school one day and I had to have my dad undo them. I'm like, you gotta hurry.
I'll piss my pants.
Yeah, but you're about to be clean. You're about to be cleaning me up.
Overalls are perfect for everything, though. They're like a fantastic all-work clothing.
Mhm.
They're really good. What was Oh, there was another. Oh, did you see a couple years ago they tried bringing mullets back?
Mullets are huge now.
I want a mullet, but
They're
Erica's
huge.
like, no.
I've only
Everybody
not
has
having a
them.
mullet.
I've only seen a couple, and they didn't last very long.
I'm growing out a mullet.
No,
in a
you're
couple
not.
Months.
I've been thinking
No, you're
about
not.
doing a skullet. Shaving the front like Mr. Clean and then having my hair long in the back.
So party in the front, business in the back. You're going the opposite.
I guess it's called a skullet, where like you take a razor to the front of your head, so it's
Yep.
like shaved, and then keep the
Yep, you just have
Stuff
from
in
the
the
middle of
back.
your head back,
yeah.
and it's cool.
You ever seen a mohawk mullet? Those are actually, I like those.
I hate this place.
Maybe I'll do a mullet, but I'll put the locks in my hair, the elf locks in the back.
Definitely not. So, along with our nostalgia, how do you guys feel about the Mandela effect? Like we
Some
all,
pretty
I don't buy
interesting-
into it.
There's some pretty interesting
There are
examples.
some ones that are really hard to explain, but
Yeah.
most of them are. It's just people
so
misremembering.
so did the Monopoly man have a monocle or no?
I never played Monopoly.
And again, like what Jesse said about people's memory not always being the best, especially when you're constantly seeing new things and new images.
and people mix things up all
But
the time.
I swear the Monopoly guy had a monocle,
He
because
did.
even when you watch the second
He absolutely
Ace
did.
Ventura movie, there's the guy with the monocle, and he's like, "Oh, look, the Monopoly guy."
He absolutely 100% had a monocle.
Mhm.
But people might have been getting him mixed up with the Pringles guy. Pringles
Maybe.
guy.
Did you ever wear Fruit of the Loom clothing?
Fruit of the Loom?
Just like white T-shirts
I mean,
or underwear?
probably.
What about you, Russ?
Yeah.
Do
But
you-
to
do you
stay
remember?
on the monocle thing with I remember specifically with one of the cards in the deck, where you would land on chance, the straight to jail card.
Straight
I
to jail.
remember specifically he had a monocle on.
You must have had a misprint.
No, absolutely not.
That's
He
why I remember it that way.
No, he
Yeah.
absolutely had a monocle on the front of the game board. He would have his hat and his cane, and he had the monocle on
Yeah,
his
you
eye.
probably had the only copy of that with a
Yes.
monocle on there. Yeah, that thing would have been worth millions.
It probably still is. I shouldn't have.
So I
shouldn't
brought
have
up the
set it
Fruit
on
of the
fire.
Loom because I swear up and down I recall Fruit of the Loom having the cornucopia on the logo with the fruit like falling
Wasn't
out of
it
the
just a pile
cornucopia.
of fruit?
Apparently, that's how it's always been. But I
That's
swear,
what I
up and
always
down,
thought it
I
was.
remember,
I
a
remember the
cornucopia.
cornucopia.
There might have been other.
So here's another
cornucopia
one.
back then.
Uh,
I don't know.
were your parents ever fans of Queen?
Yeah.
How's the song "We Are the Champions" end?
What do
I've
you,
heard it so many
like,
times.
what do
The
you
song
mean? The
"We
end?
Are the Champions."
My friends.
So many people recall it ending with "of the world," and there was even a show where they had some famous people, like in a taxi or something, driving around, and everyone in the taxi sang that part, but that part apparently never was the ending of that song.
Well, isn't it just that verse at the end
There-
without of the
there
world?
is a verse in the song still where it says "of the world."
Yeah.
But that's not how it ends, and it's funny so many people remember it that way. But that
Right.
one could also be, as Jesse mentioned, just people's shoddy memory.
That's one of the things where it just became a side trend. The same thing happened with Star Wars with the Luke, I am your father. He never actually says that, right? He doesn't say it that way, but it's because people started saying it like that, it caught on. For some reason, it was like catchier or something. I remember the same thing, like you're saying with Queen, people would do "of the world." Yeah, of course, we all did that because for some reason it was just catchier. That's not really... Yeah, it's misremembering that. But
There's
that's
another
where
one.
the Mandela effect
A lot of people
really does
misremember songs that had come out a year ago.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's one way, and then it's like, oh, I guess it was.
There's another one involving the Beatles. I can't remember the name of the song, but apparently the song goes, "What would you think if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me?" Where me and even my brothers, and I kind of remember it from hearing it on some acid trips, watching some Beatles stuff, where that almost makes no sense. And then there's a show Ringo Starr did live where he sang it the way that even me and my brothers remember, where he says, "What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me?" Which seems to make more sense than "what would you think?" Because it's "what would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me?" Doing is the action rather than thinking. And why would Ringo sing it that way if it was never that way to begin with?
I would, I feel like I've heard it that way. What was that, what was it, Across the Universe, their movie?
That's one of them. The movie I remember most from my trips was Yellow Submarine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the more recent one where it was basically telling the story of going the Vietnam War and stuff like that, where they use all those songs. I feel like it was played that way in the movie.
It was also played that way on a TV show, Wonder Years, I think.
Oh, Wonder Years.
Yeah.
You don't remember? Oh. Yeah. What would you do if I sang out of tune?
I feel like one of the biggest, most talked about examples of the Mandela effect is the Berenstain Bears.
Yeah.
So many people swear it was Berenstein, E-I-N, instead of Berenstain, A-I-N.
I think that comes down to just the way people say it.
Shoddy memory,
We
too,
never
yeah.
really sat there and spelled it out.
Mhm.
And saying the Berenstain Bears sounds kind of dumb, so
Yeah.
probably people just said the Berenstein and then
Yeah.
assumed it.
That's how I remember it, is clearly hearing Berenstein, as
Yeah.
my mom would read it to me or say it. However, as much as I've tried to use my memory to look back at the books, I've never been able to have that memory of the books actually pop in my head where I can read it.
I think that would definitely be just like American pronunciation.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with aluminum. In America, we pronounce it aluminum,
Aluminium.
but it is actually aluminium. The way it's spelled with the I after the M, it's aluminium. But no, it's aluminum. Yes. Aluminium.
Is it really
That
spelled
is the
way?
correct way.
It's not spelled that way.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. It's spelled
Google.
how we say it.
No, it's not.
It's just other countries are stupid.
Oh, yeah, that is right. The other countries
Yeah,
are.
you didn't know
I mean,
America
that's
does
why
everything
we're the
right.
best, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I typed
It is
in,
so hard to catch your sarcasm sometimes, Jesse. You fucking asshole.
I typed in aluminum, and the first thing that pops up on Google, it says interactive diagrams, aluminium.
Yeah. Aluminium.
So
Alumini.
and then under it,
Alumini.
The form aluminum is in common use in the United States. The form aluminium is used in Great Britain and by
So-
some chemists. Some chemists. In
Wait,
the
are they?
United States.
Hold up. Are they different? Are we
No,
being
it's-
told they're different?
Same thing. It's just
Right.
spelled and pronounced differently. I think there's
That's
something.
weird.
I think
Usually
there's-
words are just spelled differently but pronounced the same. Like
There's a lot of.
yeah, like adding "u" into a lot of words like
Yeah.
color and flavor. They add "our."
Color.
But I mean, in England itself, they just for some reason have trouble pronouncing words like bottle water.
Yeah.
Like what? Excuse
give me
a bottle of water.
Let me
A
get
bottle of
water.
water? Not a bowl of water. What are you saying?
That's not all of them though. But
Yeah, I know.
It
I
is
know.
funny,
Yes.
especially for people from Ireland. Like
Oh, yeah.
way up north, you
You
can't,
can't
understand even.
I
they
do
can't
like
even
their
understand
comedians.
themselves.
I do like their comedians. Though.
Yeah, they're funny.
They are so good. But yeah, just weird pronunciations. I've actually been noticing that more now since I'm paying attention to more people online from like across the country and across the world. I am noticing words that I thought I knew the pronunciation to being pronounced differently. Like even just listening to Jordan Peterson and how Canadians pronounce some words. Controversy? You mean controversy? And they're saying controversy.
It's controversy,
Okay.
mate.
All right. Like I know what you're saying, but I've never in my life heard it said that
Sounds
way.
like there's a little bit of controversy over that word.
Well, I mean, Canada's mostly French people,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
half French people.
Oui.
So they probably have a huge influence on how they speak.
Of course. But I mean, just think of what that does to language over time, 1,000 years from now when our language changes and evolves over time.
Oh, our language 400 years ago was
Completely
you would
different.
be able to barely understand somebody.
Shakespearean?
Mhm.
Yeah, it
That's-
takes you 6 months to just decipher the first 2 verses.
I
So-
like reading different religious texts and even just because it was translated in the 1800s, the Book of Mormon. I've tried reading that and it's so hard to follow, similar to like the King James Bible. I had to get a English Standard Bible because for some reason like that old English is very hard for me to follow. So
King James is a little tough to read.
yeah,
That's why I either read New King James which is even still kind of hard,
Mhm.
but usually just the American Standard Version. The
Yeah,
ESV.
that's what I got.
Yeah, it's usually the easiest.
Yeah, I definitely have to look into that. I've been getting a lot of advertisements for applications on my phone where you can listen to the Bible being spoken and broken down over a year.
Most of the
but it's
apps, they're
subscription.
filled with advertisements,
Yeah, for sure.
and it's annoying. I just typically put like.
So the crazy thing is with
on
the Book of
YouTube.
Mormon is I downloaded the app where the guy reads it, and even then I still had a hard time following it because the Book of Mormon doesn't have like a English Standard Version translation to make it sound more modern like the Bible does.
It's just done the same way over.
Yeah, it's very very hard to follow.
So, when do you believe Mandela was alive?
I didn't even know who that was until
Right.
until I heard about the Mandela effect.
Right. So it's very weird that we are misremembering things like this, right?
Yeah, a lot of people thought he died in the 90s or something, but it was like
Right.
2008.
They thought he died in prison, but then he
Yeah.
ended up getting out and becoming the president
Right.
of South Africa.
Exactly. So it's very weird how we like misremember these things. I don't ever remember hearing my parents talk about it, like how they misremembered things.
Yeah.
So there's actually a really fun and interesting
Oh yeah.
a conspiracy behind all of this, right? So you guys might find this fun. I definitely do. And this was
Talk about the multiverse.
the multiverse
like
theory.
crossing over.
Yeah. So in
When they fired up CERN, we shifted.
exactly.
Yep.
When we refired up CERN in 2015, 2016, Donald Trump's not actually the president because what we did is when we collided Higgs boson again, we actually split our universe and we're like 2 universes on top of each other that just keep getting things screwed up. Oh, I had to dive deep into Reddit to like find more about this, and that was a lot of fun. That's definitely one of my favorite like
I'll have to dig a
science
little.
fiction conspiracies.
I'll have to
about
dig a little
CERN.
deeper into that because I actually just watched some scientific videos about CERN, and it's actually pretty interesting the work they do there.
Oh, for sure.
Some of it's definitely over my head. I don't fully understand it, but trying to follow along with this video and watch it, it seems like some pretty interesting work, how they're like hyper accelerating these particles to collide, and that's actually how they found the Higgs boson, the God particle, which is it's what's supposed to give mass to all physical things.
So they've been doing tests there since 2010. It's a 17-mile long hadron collider. So what they'll take protons at either end, and they shoot them near the speed of light at each other. And when they collided, I believe in like 2012 they saw trace amounts of the Higgs boson, which was only in theory. And by that theory, it states that is the particle that was required to create our known universe.
And to give mass to all physical things.
That's why it's called
mass
the
to all
God
matter.
particle. It's like the spark of our entire universe.
It was Stephen Hawking that said when we find Higgs boson that the world will end.
That's when we'll know some things. Yeah, so it was turned off actually in 2012 after that because they started doing like upgrades and things like that, and it was turned back on in late 2015, 2016, right before the U.S. election and things started happening, and that's definitely a fun one where they just where they hyper accelerate protons at each other and just watch them collide. I think there was another one in 2018 where there was a micro black hole. It only stayed open for like 0.00001 of a second.
That was in the video that I had watched last week, that they were able to create like this artificial black hole that was very, very tiny, and like you said, it didn't last long at all before collapsing or disappearing.
Listen,
so
all right, you weren't supposed to catch that. I knew it. As soon as I said it, I knew it. I was like, oh.
Have you heard the theory that it ties into ancient Hindu, that there's this statue of Lord Shiva that, I mean, I got it pulled up right here. If you look at it, I feel like it could kind of mimic what the Large Hadron Collider looks like at CERN, but I feel like that's also a stretch.
I mean, there's so many
but it's
circles.
Interesting.
There's so many
it's just
circles everywhere. Shiva is like inside of a celestial circle.
A circle that looks like it could be a portal.
It looks like a ring of fire to me.
A circle looks like a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yin yang, that's a circle as well, so, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I find some theories interesting, even if I don't believe them. It's weird. It almost gives you like a little insight to how the human mind works a little bit. Like, oh, that's interesting how somebody's mind came up with this, even though I don't believe it, but interesting imagination.
Yeah, the path that they would have needed to travel to come up with that.
I feel like with a lot of people, it's they see the conclusion and then they build the problem backwards, you know?
Yeah.
I forget what that's called, but you already see the conclusion, so then you create an equation to construct it around it. Reverse engineer it, but without any of the extra, parts to do it. Instead of doing experiments until you get that conclusion, you then build your worldview around the conclusion.
Oh, like flat earthers. Like flat earthers, their conclusion is the world is flat, but they've done anything to prove it and can't prove it to you when you ask them questions.
So they already believe that the world is flat, and in order to prove that, they will then come up with absurd things to prove it. Yeah.
Like, this is theoretically how it
could happen. That's all fields of science, right?
Yeah.
That's all fields.
So how about that Toys R Us? Anybody remember that?
Oh, man. I thought I read something where they were going to be making a comeback recently.
They are. They're opening more Toys R Us
there was also
next year.
What was that other toy store at the mall? KB Toys?
KB Toys. Yep.
Yeah, man. I miss that place
games.
too.
They had like 700 different.
That's where I used to get my yo-yos.
The
yo-yos with the brains that would just like spin forever.
I remember yo-yos were fun. I don't see how Toys R Us is going to survive. Is like anything you can get at Toys R Us, you just order on Amazon.
Yeah.
I feel like the only way they could survive is by somehow having like an online-only store where they actually ship through Amazon. Like it's a store you could go to through Amazon, maybe.
I can see that. Or they just get a bunch of us going and they'd be like, "Oh, Toys R Us is back. We haven't been
Yeah,
able to go there."
right.
They'd maybe be popping for like a year, and then they'd probably have to go back out of business. Everyone would go for the nostalgia, and then it'd be right back to online shopping.
They haven't really been going that long. What, 5 years? Something like that.
If they made it an interactive area for kids, like
that give
not,
a reason to go there instead of buying online.
If not just, oh, you get to look at all these boxes in an aisle. Because I remember doing that as a kid, and that was fun. You know, it was fun walking down the aisles. But if there's Lego sets that kids want to buy, if you actually have an area where kids can play with the Legos for a couple of hours before buying something, that'd be cool. Like, we all remember Walmart when they started installing the Xboxes and stuff, and you would, like, break your neck.
Oh, yeah.
If they had those all over the place, sure. If you actually created it as not just a box store, if it actually became an area where kids could go, socialize with other kids, play with toys, and then every once in a while buy something, that's a win-win. So
even if it was like, hey, pay $3 and your kids get to play in here for an hour or something like that, like a little, like an entrance
or
fee.
even just a couple hours. Like,
and if you can walk through this area blindfolded without stepping on one Lego and hurting your foot, you get a free box of Legos. Dangerous, but possibly worth it.
No, not worth. Have you ever stepped on a triangle Lego?
Oh, not a
triangle.
Not a triangle one, but even the rectangular ones don't feel good.
No.
Yeah, the triangle ones, you will question all of your existence. You will wish you were unalived before birth.
Yeah, I've had a nail go through my foot once.
Yikes.
And a Lego might hurt as much or worse.
Yeah.
Jeez. I mean, I've seen a golf tee go through a kid's foot. Never a nail. Yeah, I won't say the girl's name, but it was like back in maybe 2015 or 14. I think it was her daughter was running through a yard barefoot, and there just happened to be a golf tee somehow sticking up, and it went right into her foot. And I remember seeing the picture of the thing hanging out, and I'm like, that hurts just looking at it.
Oof. Oh, do you remember that show on MTV? Or was it, do you remember Scarred?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one skateboarder
hosted it. Where they showed all like the bad accidents and
like the people's legs bending in the other way, and snapping from hitting a rail.
I can deal with blood, but when bones and body parts start bending in ways they're not supposed to, that's when I'm like,
I just remember
seeing away.
Like one that has actually scarred me for life. This kid lands on his hand, and his two fingers come like folding back, and all you see is the knuckles here poking through. And it's like, ugh. But I think we had stronger stomachs back then. Like as a kid, you were like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." But now it's like,
yeah, maybe. Maybe when we're kids, we have a little bit more
testosterone.
morbid curiosity than when you.
And it's
because once you get older, I mean, you've seen it, so it doesn't pique your interest as much.
I mean, we probably all watched the we probably all watched the Pain Olympics in the early days of the internet,
the BME
right?
Pain Olympics.
Hey.
I still hope in my mind that wasn't real, but I mean, that was what, 2002, 2001? Like, they didn't have.
But that's the kind of stuff that was like, people were getting scarred for life from that. Like, a lot of that stuff is just.
Well, the one dude gave himself, like, basically gender reassignment surgery on himself. When he
talk about the hammer?
I thought he did it with a cleaver. I thought he chopped it right off.
I know he smashed circular objects with a hammer. There might have been.
I remember seeing that, or like, no, I don't think this is stuff we can talk about on YouTube.
Probably not.
We can't like describe it.
Oh no. That's why I said circles and a hammer.
Yeah, we should stay away from the Pain Olympics or anything like that.
Do not Google that.
Old school 2 girls 1 cup.
Google that.
Even though that was fake, but
was it? Because it looked very real.
No,
Pistachio ice cream.
It was fake.
Yeah,
It was just a very beautiful work of art. Well, maybe not beautiful, but
I'm gonna need that.
I don't believe it. I believe that's real, because scat is a real thing. So, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think they've talked about it.
Yeah, Jesse, listen. If I was paid even $20,000 to do a video like that, I would then come out later and say, no, it was fake.
Mm.
Like, would you live with yourself knowing that you did that? Or would you tell everybody it was fake?
I mean, I feel like
wouldn't mind.
Yes, you would.
I feel like they
Maybe.
wouldn't have minded if they were really doing it. I feel like there'd be no embarrassment there. So why even come out and tell people it was fake if you were gonna do it for real anyways?
Public shame.
I mean, they had no shame when they were
they released
right,
doing
because but
to the public.
well, I mean, Jennifer, celebrity videos have been made and then released without their knowing. So
Well,
you know.
they didn't mean for it to go out.
Yeah.
They meant for it to go out.
How do you know?
What do you mean?
How do you know?
Because they were like, it's not like it was a hidden camera.
Sure, but neither was.
They were recording her for a reason.
Well, there's plenty of recordings where, like,
Oh, I guess
you hear stories
somebody-
about this all the time, where
somebody else gets
a guy and a girl are
yeah.
dating, and then she records a video for him. Just because she recorded a video, willingly
I guess.
doesn't mean she meant for all of his best friends to see it, So, sure, they could have been offered $1 million, like, hey, we're going to make this personal video and sell it to our most prestigious clientele, where they were like, okay, if only 100 people are going to see this, not literally the entire world, if it were me, I would absolutely tell everybody it was fake, of course,
I'd own up to it. I'd be like, hell yeah, that was me.
You would
I
own
did
up
it.
to eating poop.
Hell yeah. If I did it on camera to begin with, why not? Hell yeah, I did that.
Yeah, you'd be. I mean, people would look at you a certain way.
Exactly. That public
Whether-
shame.
whether
Like,
it's
you would,
not-
like, even if you were to walk into an ice cream shop, they would be like, get out. Get out now. Leave this place. I mean, they're not going to be recognized.
I would
here
just tell them,
soon,
well, the
so-
poop tastes better than your ice cream anyways.
Blech. That pistachio ice cream had real nuts. Yours aren't.
So, what are some toys that you miss? Like specific 90s toys that were out for maybe 1 year.
I want to say these were specific 90s, and I don't know if they still make them now. I know they were out for more than a year, but it was the old WWF wrestlers where they had the Titantron. They had the two little metal things on their feet, and you could put them on the Titantron, and it would actually play their entrance music through the little
I was
thing.
wondering why some of my wrestlers had
Yeah.
Things on their feet.
That's why
It was
I
for
never knew.
that. Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was a big fan of those.
I just remember all the like infomercial ones, the skipping counter thing.
The Skip It. I was just
Skip It.
about to say that. I loved my Skip It.
And what were the batons? Do you remember the 3 batons?
Oh, Devil Sticks.
There you go.
Erica actually recently had some of those a couple years back, and she was getting
There
pretty
was
good with
like
them.
one that had weights on the end, and you had 2 other sticks, and the whole point was to just keep it up in the air.
Just keep flowing with it.
Pretty dope.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
What?
Didn't Bop It come out in the 90s?
Yeah.
I think they still have
Bop
it
It.
now.
They
but
do.
Bop It
Yeah.
Extreme now.
Yeah,
They
I
got
was-
like 3 extra ones.
I liked
But
Bop It.
Who's gonna buy that?
Man, the old school Game Boy. The only game I ever played on the Game Boy was Pokemon Red, Yellow, and Blue.
See, I didn't even know that there was a Game Boy before Game Boy Color.
Well, Game
but
Boy was 85.
I had heard. about
First one I
Game
ever
Boy
played was
Color
Game Boy
and
Color.
Game
so,
Boy Color was
yeah.
90, 91, something like that. 89, something like that.
First ever. First ever Game Boy game I got was Pokemon
Yep.
Pikachu, Pokemon Yellow.
Yeah, Pokemon Yellow. Yeah.
Do
Pokemon
any of the
Red.
new Pokemon games have any of like the old school hacks, like when you could get Missing No in Pokemon Red and Blue?
The first gen of games were so glitched that, especially the
Mm.
Japanese versions, they barely functioned. Half the moves in the game didn't work.
Okay.
It was a mess.
You remember that glitch
They-
though, right? Where you could get Missing No
Yeah,
by
you talk
surfing
to
up
the
and
old
down.
man, then you go to Cinnabar Island,
Yep.
surf on the
back.
East Coast, and
Yep.
then get
And he
Missing
would
No or Kangaskhan's or Rhyhorns.
You could get
or
unlimited the Master Balls.
level
so then you can-
150 Pokemon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can
Yep,
catch any.
seventh
They would
item in your
duplicate
inventory
stuff.
duplicated to
Yep.
near infinite.
The newest Pokemon game that just came out though, it's been having a lot of bugs as well. People have put
It's
so
more
many
performance
videos.
issues.
I've seen performance stuff, but there's a lot of clipping issues and things like that.
Yeah,
and-
there are some minor
Yeah.
bugs, not game breaking ones, but
As someone who
Definitely-
still likes to
definitely
do
annoying.
photography, the Pokemon picture game for
Pokemon
N64.
Snap?
Yeah, Pokemon Snap for
I
N64.
still got to play the new one.
I loved that. I didn't know they had a new one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it came out last year.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah, Pokemon. I think it's just called Pokemon Snap. For the
Probably
Switch.
takes way better pictures.
It's a little better.
Do
Technology
you guys
advances.
remember
you know.
the commercial for the Smash Brothers? Smash for 64. Dun 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 dun.
I don't think I recall that one.
And so it was just all the characters like skipping through a meadow, and it was me and you and me.
And then did they start beating the hell out of each other? I vaguely remember it now. When you said
Yeah.
skipping through the meadow, it started to ring a small memory.
That was good.
But I never played it either.
Smash Brothers.
I never was
It
in the fighting
fun.
games really.
Yeah.
Street Fighter a little bit. But...
Street Fighter was a good one. Hadouken!
Yeah,
I
the
still
one
like
game I
making that
had written
noise.
down on here, Scanners. You remember those?
Scanners.
Yep. It was like a little. It was kind of like a Tamagotchi.
You would go to the store and scan the coupons and stuff?
Scan
Barcodes.
barcodes, and depending on which type of barcode you scanned, you could either get items, you could battle a monster.
That sounds awesome, and I'm
It
kind of
was
sad I never experienced
fantastic,
that.
and it was
It was kinda
multiplayer.
cool.
Oh,
you
wow.
could connect them with your friends and
Yeah.
like battle each other and trade and stuff.
Man, I'm sad I missed out on that.
But there
'Cause, like,
was
I had
also,
a Tamagotchi, but never
Yeah,
one
they
of
came out
those.
in '98 or '99, and then Scanners Commander was 2001.
I believe we talked about this before. Tamagotchis were more of the female version, right? What was it that boys had?
Oh,
They were on. So like the Tamagotchis were like the little eggs, right?
yeah, Tamagotchi was the only thing I remember.
Yeah, I
So
always
there was
killed mine. I
there
could
was
never be
a
successful.
boys version.
I
where
only
you
had
would,
scanners.
You
I
would get a
didn't use
monster,
Tamagotchi.
and then you would actually connect them, and you could fight each other.
That's-
And I remember that one.
Scanners.
Scanners was pretty cool. It was a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know if there's another one.
It was a good idea, but
Yeah,
for
it's
some
so
reason
good,
it
so
didn't
cool.
last for very long. But it was a very good
3-4
idea.
years.
I think it tried to jump off of. It was like. It was jumping onto Digimon's hype train.
Yeah, Digimon, Pokemon. Yeah, it came out right after.
I think if it would have waited a little while,
It actually
It would
fleshed
have
out
done
an
better,
actual game.
but Pokemon
it
and
was-
Digimon were just too popular.
Yeah.
Where kids were just like, no.
One of the games I really missed from N64 was one of my favorites was GoldenEye.
Yes.
GoldenEye was great. Even for that time, I feel like the graphics were pretty good for that time. Although if we were to like look at it
If you
now,
look at it now, it did
we'd
not
be
age.
like, oh, that's bad.
Like, do you remember the show Reboot?
Reboot.
Reboot?
I don't think I'm recalling
So,
that.
This was on Cartoon Network, I believe, right? And it might have been on Toonami. So the premise of the show, it was like the very earliest CGI rendering, right?
Oh,
They
like
used
Jimmy
CGI.
Neutron?
They used even before that. It was CGI animation, and the premise of the show was the three main characters were in your computer, right? They're in a civilization that lives in your motherboard. And when you play a game, they jump in and they're the AI that has to defeat you. And it's
You
really,
want to
really
Google it real quick? See
Yeah.
if any of the characters jog my memory.
so go to YouTube.
Just Reboot?
Yeah, go to YouTube and type in like reboot the show. When you see these characters, if you know them, you'll recognize them. But the animation, in my mind,
Is it a
I'm
game?
like, bro, that was so good. But the animation is absolutely horrendous. Yes.
Oh, 1994 animation?
Yeah.
Oh, it was. Yeah, that's probably a little early.
This
for
one?
me. That's why.
Go up.
Right here.
Oh, 94 to 01.
Yeah, probably.
IMDb.
Yep.
Okay.
Look at that. Look at that nonsense. Ooh, I gotta see this too.
Killer graphics, man. Look at that. Killer. Actually, for the 90s, that don't look too bad, actually.
Right? They put so much money into this. The three main characters, right? Yep.
That dog looked concerned.
Oh man.
Yeah,
This is where one of the first jokes for 689.
I'm sure I've seen an episode or two when I was like 5.
It was
yeah,
great.
I don't recall this one, but
It was a great show. Oh.
think I'm gonna have to check it out and make fun of it.
Interesting.
You should. From what I remember, it was a fantastic show. I loved it. But
I probably would have liked to watch that while eating a bag of my jalapeno cheddar Doritos 3D. I miss those, man.
yeah,
That was my favorite flavor ever as a kid, and I was so sad when they stopped making that flavor.
The buffalo, what were the things bugles? The things you put on your hands.
They still make bugles.
Yeah. But
So.
I didn't really see them too much anymore.
I don't see any of the good flavors. I see like regular, and then the 7-Eleven by my
Weird
house has
Cool
ranch,
Ranch.
and that's
Yeah.
about it.
Ranch,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I think back then they only had nacho.
They did recreate that Doritos flavor, the jalapeno cheddar. It wasn't in 3D, but it was a couple years back. They had jalapeno cheddar Doritos, but it was just limited time. Like, I hate when anywhere gets rid of a jalapeno cheddar flavor or anything, because it's like one of my favorite flavors.
Especially the Subway bread. When they got rid of the jalapeno cheddar bread.
Oh,
What?
yeah.
I didn't even know they had a
only it for like
jalapeno.
8 months.
Oh.
It was good.
They had it for like
I don't
7,
do
8
Subway a
months.
lot, but I would have went for
And
that.
That came with their, like, the Outlaw Philly or something. They had it for
I
a
only
while.
ever eat
It was
meatballs,
good.
so I have no idea.
Oh, for another show. Do you remember Transformers Animorphs?
Never watched them.
That was
Same
also
here.
Just
I-
big robot things.
even Transformers?
I didn't like Transformers.
But it was, I'm pretty sure it was also in the early 90s, just like that show. They used the same kind of graphics, but it was one of those things where they were testing it out to see if they could make money on this sort of animation. But that was also a pretty good show, Transformers Animorphs.
Actually, I lied. I did like Zoids. Zoids was
Zoids
awesome.
is good.
That
Zoids
was,
is good.
I
There's
don't
like
recall
3 or
that
4
one
of those
either.
now.
it was like Gundam, but they were animals instead. You'd have like the tiger Zoid,
Yeah.
and that's the only one I remember.
Did you guys ever watch Animorphs?
Oh, the
Yeah,
It was
the
created.
books.
Well, they made a
they
TV
made-
series out of it
Oh,
too.
I've seen some episodes.
I don't know, I like that one because I thought it would be dope to be able to shift into an
Yeah.
animal.
Yeah.
Bro.
You're like Beast Boy.
Goosebumps
as
and
good.
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, dude, Are You Afraid of the Dark was so good.
That was my
So
a couple years ago. I actually
So
downloaded the
good.
entire series and just watched.
Of
through
Are You
every
Afraid of the
episode.
Dark? Oh,
Is it
that's
as good as
awesome.
you remember?
Oh, it was awesome. It was so good.
Are You
And,
Afraid of the Dark?
There was only like 4 or
bro.
5 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it was so good.
I liked the
Maybe
Goosebumps
6.
books where you could decide your own fate, where it was like either flip to this page or this page. I really liked those ones because, I don't know, it brought a different element of
Kind
excitement
of
to
like
it.
Captain Underpants. I think that was the same way.
Captain Underpants was good. I
Yep.
had a couple of those books. I don't know why this just
Dang.
popped in my head. You guys remember Snapple Elements?
What was it?
Snapple Elements.
Is that
There
like
was-
a flavor of Snapple?
Yeah, there was a couple different. They had like Earth, Wind, Fire, and Water. Let me see if I can find them real quick.
What was
Are you sure that wasn't a Sobe thing?
Pretty sure it was Snapple.
Because I do vaguely remember
Yeah,
something.
Sobe had something about the elements on their bottle.
Yo, who was it? I think Coca-Cola bought out Sobe. Have you had one of those recently?
Last
A
time I
Sobe?
had
It's been a long
Sobe was
time.
probably like 2005.
Their flavors are nothing what they used to be.
Man, Sobe
Like
used to
the
be
greatest
real good.
flavor that everybody could agree on,
The
right?
strawberry
The strawberry
daiquiri or
banana.
whatever.
That one
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
delicious.
It
Don't tell
was
me it's
the
nasty
best.
now.
It is. It's disgusting. And do you remember the glass bottles?
Yeah.
They were collectible.
Oh, are they plastic now?
They're plastic.
Oh,
Everything's
Well, I
plastic
mean, same
now.
thing with Snapple. It's plastic now.
oh, that's true.
It was like, why aren't you guys doing just do glass?
Mhm.
But whatever.
Oreo
Everybody wants
O's. They actually came back out with these. I got this list pulled up of discontinued foods from the 90s. And there's actually a couple of them I've scrolled past on here. They've
Yep,
come back
Oreo
out
O's,
with
Yeah, I've seen that.
Crystal Pepsi.
Yep.
They came back out with Wonder Balls too, didn't they?
The hell is Wonder Balls?
The little
What?
chocolate balls that had like a little toy or something in the
Yeah,
center.
they were kind of like
okay.
Kinder eggs,
Okay.
Yeah.
but they were a choking hazard.
Dunkaroos. They've come back out with Dunkaroos.
See, I never had Dunkaroos as a kid, so when that came back out, I was like, meh. But when they came back out with French Toast Crunch,
Yes.
that's one of the
Yep.
greatest cereals
Yeah,
ever
it was
created
so
to
good.
mankind.
They've come back out with Waffle Crisp.
Yep.
Did they come back out with the Tangerine Altoids? Tangerine Sour Altoids? Those were delicious.
Sounds pretty good.
Weren't Altoids like a throat lozenge or something?
That's a
Or no,
breath
they
mint.
were. Oh, yeah. They're.
It's
yeah,
just the
they're
one that
breath
comes in the tin
mint.
can.
Oh, that's right.
Man.
Choco Tacos. I thought those were still out through like the 2000s and shit.
Yeah.
French Toast Crunch. They've come back out with that.
You know what? I feel like I haven't seen in a couple of years. Fruit by the foot.
Tricks with Shapes. They came back out with that. They do still have that. I have seen it.
Do they?
Yeah,
So
I feel like
seen them in so
I feel like a
long.
lot of it for adults. If you're not buying them or buying like gummy snacks for your kids, you probably just don't see that stuff because it's in like one certain section of the grocery store that I don't even usually walk past.
Because we probably don't go down the candy aisle that
Yeah,
often.
at this age, my fruit snack. Oh, guacamole Doritos. I remember those. But yeah, at this point in my life, my fruit snacks are actual fruit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or like
Coworker of
dried
mine.
fruits or actual
Like a trail mix,
the
maybe.
pasted out fruit snacks. Like, yeah.
A coworker of mine the other day asked me if I wanted some gummies. I was like, "Oh yeah, I got some gummies over in the cooler. I got a thing of grapes in there."
Is there anything you guys hated about the 90s?
I hated not being an adult. Now I'm an adult, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I want to be a kid in the '90s again." Oh, Butterfinger
But I
BBs.
think that's
remember
all
those.
kids because like we kind of get tired of being a kid because it's the same thing for like 15 years.
We're always
so we
getting
start
told what to
saying-
do and everything. Where
Yeah,
to be.
so we think, well, when I'm an adult, I'm just going to do what I want, and then our parents were just like, ha 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 ha. Yeah, wait till you got to pay bills, you little shit.
Yeah, here it is. Snapple Elements. They had Earth, Rain, Sun, and Fire.
It was just rain flavored?
Let me enlarge.
Oh,
yeah.
Snapple thing?
You remember those?
Okay. I didn't know those were Snapple.
How do I zoom in so I can actually like read what those flavors are? Here we go. Oh. So Earth.
Things hated about the 90s.
I can't really think of anything.
I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but we're looking at it through rose-colored glasses, so we're...
waiting in line for everything, but at the same time, I look back and it's like, that's not that bad. Really, when it comes to things that I disliked, it would just be when I thought I was being treated unfairly, which, I mean, that's on a person-to-person thing. you know?
Yeah, it's not anything to do with specifically the 90s. That's just being younger.
Forced bedtimes, because there'd be times as a kid where like I'm told I got to go to bed at this time, but then I'd literally just be sitting up in my room, looking out the window, looking at the stars, questioning what happens when the sun blows up. Because I learned about supernovas at a space camp when I was like 7 years old, and then I'm thinking to myself, damn, what happens to all the life on the planet when the sun supernovas? Do we all just disappear and there's no more life in the universe? What
7
happens?
minutes.
So actually, unless something catastrophic happens to our sun during the time period, it's going to take like another billion years for
it's a
our
long
sun.
time.
But by the time our sun gets to that point, it would have already swallowed us.
Is that normal for a young kid, though, to be thinking to himself late at night, like, damn, what happens when all the life on the planet is gone and there's no more life in the universe if we're the only planet with life on it? Because that was my understanding at the
That
time.
might be a little young.
If
Yeah, I'm
you're
like-
given existential information like that, no, that sounds perfectly normal.
That's true. A little kid is gonna
Question.
run through their mind, and they're
Yeah.
gonna go over.
Because I used to sit there thinking to myself, like, man, if we die, then there's nothing left in the universe, and that can't happen. There's got to be life here somewhere. Like, that can't happen. Everyone can't just disappear. They got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
Our energy's got to go somewhere eventually. But things I hated about...
yeah, it's really hard to think of things I
Actually,
hated.
I do know. The fact that you could smoke wherever the fuck you wanted.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that didn't change until
90s,
early
94,
Yeah.
I believe, is
Oh, was
when
it that early?
Philip Johnson, is that the cigarette? Philip Morris
Philip Morris.
was actually like taken to court for that. I'm pretty sure it was ruled in 94.
I think it was up until, I want to say 2008 or 2009 in North Carolina, you could still smoke in restaurants.
There
'Cause
probably are still some places.
I know
around
you
the
can't
country
anymore.
where you
They
can.
finally outlawed it when I was in the Marine Corps, but that's one thing that you don't miss hearing is when you go into a restaurant, smoking or non-smoking.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know any better. I mean, my entire family smoked. You know, my father smoked, my mother smoked, my grandmothers, both
Can you
my
smoke in
grandmothers.
hotels?
You're not
I don't think
supposed
so.
to. You can get a smoking room.
Oh,
But
specific smoke.
it's
Okay.
extra.
Yeah, I usually get those when I go to a hotel just so I can smoke some weed in there.
And then each room on the left or the right still smells like smoke.
Because people smoke in those rooms anyways. So, but yeah, that's one thing I hated about the '90s. Was
Right, that's
probably
enough
that.
negativity. How about the gym class scooters?
There was a lot
The
of
ones you would sit on and
about
run
the-
your hands over.
What about the? Oh, dude, that always hurt so
Yep.
bad because you just weren't thinking about it. You're having fun, and then next thing you know, your hand's in the way and you fucking crush a finger.
or the.
But what about the parachute in gym class
I was
too?
about to say the
Yeah.
parachute.
It was like entering a different dimension when you got under that parachute as a kid.
You guys remember? It was like dodgeball, but with the foam balls.
Yeah, it wasn't as fun because
So
you
dodgeball
don't get PTSD from that noise when one of those
But-
old
So
when it bounces off your face.
there was a special one that my school did, right? So parents and everything were upset that kids were getting hit with the balls. So we had buckets, 4 buckets with cans. And the objective was be the first team to knock the cans off. And that was fun.
Sounds awful.
But
Do you
also at school, did you guys ever play wall ball?
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
yeah, that was
Oh
more
With
fun.
the
yeah.
tennis ball?
That was a high school thing.
Oh yeah.
Wall ball was fun. That
Do
was
you-
probably the greatest, just pegging your friends with a ball.
We used a golf ball.
You used a golf ball?
We used a golf
That sounds
ball.
dangerous. I
Yeah,
like
it
it.
We
hurt.
used a racket
I never got
ball.
hit by it, thank God.
We used a tennis ball, and then we upgraded to a racket ball.
It's
at one
supposed to be a
point.
tennis ball.
The racquetball has a little bit more sting than the tennis ball.
Yeah, but a golf ball, that's a
After-
concussion.
Yeah, after 2 kids got hurt and went and told.
Yeah.
We went back.
Because
to
you would
tennis
have
ball.
an instant well, and they were probably crying and
Oh,
got
yeah.
called wusses, and then they were like, I'll show you who's a wuss.
The other thing I remember from gym class, you guys remember the kangaroo club?
The
Jumping rope. And if you did it for more than like 10 minutes, you got a certain colored kangaroo thing with your name on it on the wall. If you did 20, you were on the next
Maybe.
level, and then 30.
Maybe.
I remember hitting certain PE goals for sure. But
Mhm. Yeah, like
Nah,
if
the
you
kangaroo
could
club
do a
and
certain
stuff.
amount of like sit ups or something, you could. That
Kangaroo
was more
club's
high
definitely one I
school than
remember.
Yeah.
High school.
But I remember in middle school there were, if you exceeded or if you excelled at certain things, you would get rewards for different stuff. For sure. I do.
Gym was always my favorite class.
Yeah, I do kind
If
of.
you can
miss
count it as
school.
one, yeah.
Yeah, I do kind of miss school because there was a lot of nostalgia for that too. There was nothing
Mhm.
quite like the first day of school, like something about.
Or
that
even going
first day of
or
school.
even going to the school dance, meeting up with all your friends at the school
Yeah.
gym after school's been out for hours. You come back and you have some fun, dance around. You got the DJ playing the what's the song? Take it back now, y'all. One hop this time. What's that called? Why can't I remember the name of that? The Cha Cha Slide. That's it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or just everything. Like, hey, it's Friday now. I get to spend the rest of the weekend with my friends, and
Oh man, weekends now feel like a 30-minute lunch break.
this is actually making me kind of depressed thinking about all this like good stuff. Like I'm gonna go get some ice cream when we're done here. I'm definitely gonna go get some comfort food.
Oh man, the little kid rides at Harris Hill. Those were always super fun.
I mean, they're still kind of
Little
fun to
kid
watch.
rides?
Well, we can't fit on them anymore because we're
Yeah,
not kids.
but-
I only
but-
ever played mini golf up there.
Oh yeah, they got those little rides and stuff like to the left of the mini golf.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah, there's the
go out
mini
there
golf,
for
then there's the building with the arcade in it, and then you can get the popcorn and
Yeah.
stuff. And then to the left of that, there was one that was a flying machine that had like machine
The
guns.
guns on the back.
There was another one that was not
Does
quite
They,
like
they
the,
still have those.
It was one that was kind of like a tilt-a-whirl, but way, way chiller than the tilt-a-whirl, where you go around in the circle and your thing would kind of spin a little bit.
Hmm.
They still have those. We sadly just can't fit them anymore.
Yeah, I think I remember most of those. Do you guys did you guys ever go to like a summer camp or anything?
I did like camps for church.
Camp
When
Long
I-
Point?
when I was like 12, 13. We've went there a couple times.
I loved Long Point.
Yeah, we
I went
visited
there
there-
for like 5 years. in a
Where's
row.
where's Camp Long Point?
It's up near one of the lakes.
Yeah,
So it's up near one of the
lakes.
Finger Lakes.
Was it on Cuca? Because I do recall seeing a camp there when I rented a boat and was driving it around the lake one year.
Yes, I'm not exactly sure, but it
What was it called again?
Camp Long Point. It's
Long
a
Point.
Christian retreat camp.
Yeah, it's run by the Salvation Army. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
yep. It's a salvo.
Yeah,
camp.
we
But
never
it was
we never went
fantastic.
there to go to camp, but we would go up there for like a day or two and like just do like a men's retreat thing
Yeah.
when
I loved it.
I was like 14.
Camp was
15,
awesome.
something like that.
I
Yeah,
went to
that was a fun time.
an aviation
Ah,
camp one summer.
It's
as
on
well.
Seneca Lake.
Seneca.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it looks like it's almost like right about close to the halfway point of Seneca Lake. So it's up there a little bit past Himrod and getting closer to Dresden. And
It was
Nice.
it was fun, and they just like they used to have really old cabins, but the last year I went, they renovated all the cabins. They were like way up to date and everything.
Yeah, they weren't
Really
too
nice-
bad when we went.
really
I mean,
nice
this
place.
was
The only-
17 years ago or so. That was a while ago.
the only camp I ever did as a kid, and it technically would have been outside the 90s. I want to say I may have been 9, which would have been 1999. I was either 9 or 10. But it was Eileen Collins Space Camp. That's actually where I learned about the supernovas. Actually, no, I knew about supernovas earlier than that, I think. But they retaught supernovas. I got to fly in a glider, which was actually the second time I went in a glider there. That was
I
pretty
think
fun.
you went to the same camp that I did then. Yeah, I went to like an aviation space camp.
Yeah, we did an overnight thing at the glider place.
We were
and-
probably at the same camp then.
Yeah, that would have been weird if we were both there the
Yeah.
same year.
Because I definitely remember there was a co-pilot, of course, right?
Mhm.
But I got to pilot for like 2 minutes a glider and then a single propelled engine for about 2 minutes as well. That was fun. And then
That sounds cool.
we stayed overnight at one of the not the airport, but like one of the airfield at the airfield.
So where
in the
I stayed
hangars.
overnight, it was at the glider place, the glider museum.
But it had
So
all
it's
the
possible we went different years because I was gonna go back the next year and I didn't end up going back the next
very
year.
expensive.
Yeah,
very
that's
expensive.
why I only went the 1 year.
It would have been really cool to continue on that though, and then turn that into a career. That probably
Yeah.
would have been a much better choice than slinging pizzas.
Yeah, I was obsessed with like fighter jets and stuff like that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
One of my friends that was also had that obsession, he stuck with it and now he's flying fighter jets in the Air Force, and I think that's awesome.
That's what's up.
He's got his glider's license. He can fly around in fighter jets. That's awesome that he stuck with that, man. I won't say names, but
Yeah.
it's awesome he's doing
do
that. I like to
wonder,
see that.
I wonder how much it would cost to actually like train to get your like
That's
helicopters.
got to be
or
one of the
pilot
coolest
license.
jobs in the entire world.
So from my understanding, it's harder to fly a helicopter than it is a plane
Oh, for sure.
because I think there's more things you have to do simultaneously
yeah, you
to
have
keep
to
it
go up and down
to keep
and
it
left and right,
balanced.
and
There's
two
pedals and
propellers.
levers and
Whew, don't even want
It's-
to imagine.
Pitch, yaw, roll and awe.
hmm
Roll and yaw. Roll and yaw.
I think you're correct because I recently even watched a video on it.
Much harder.
So when you guys were kids, did you have like a meetup spot? If everybody didn't have phones, you'd be like, hey, 4:00, everybody just
Yeah.
meet here and we'll figure out what to do.
Ours-
Ride around to whoever's house had the most bikes in front.
So
You went to
we did that if we didn't have plans, if people were just like randomly somewhere else. But there was a lot of times, like me and my group of friends, because we loved playing baseball, Beecher or Cedar Park, whatever you wanted to call it, was literally like a block over from my mom's. So like the night before, we'd be like, hey, let's all try to get over to Beecher Park by like 9:30 so we can get the field and play baseball before anybody else shows
right
up.
around the corner from me then. What street
We're-
do you live on?
Du Bois.
The boys.
Oh, other Beecher. I thought you meant Beecher School Park.
Oh no, yeah, Beecher on the south side. Dude, what's crazy is we call it working with D Block now. There is 5 people I work with up at Domino's that all at one point or another in their lives lived on Du Bois Street.
Yeah, you're telling me about
Yeah,
that.
so when we're all on the clock together, we're always like D Block.
Losers.
Yeah, I guess it was more of when I lived out in PA in the middle of nowhere. I guess that was more. We always just met down by the creek.
Mm.
If If we didn't know where anybody was, just meet down by the creek after school, and
I think after
Sounds like a nice, relaxing spot to meet up.
after they built Eldridge Park, that was typically the spot. Oh, let's go to the skate park. We'll see you there tomorrow. Stuff like that.
Yep.
You said skate park, and that triggered another thought. Although I can't say it was from the '90s, but it's still nostalgic. And I'm sure if any of my high school friends end up watching this, they're gonna get nostalgia when I mention this. But Hopkins Street Skate Park on the south side. Yeah.
I do remember going there a couple times.
Yep, that's another one. There was at one point they had a bunch of video game systems in there you could play. I want to say it was Burberry that was running it at one point, or was trying to give the kids something to do, and then something ended up happening where they had to close that down because we can't have nice things because people can't be trusted. But he tried his best. If I'm remembering correctly, if that's who it was, he tried his best to give the kids there something nice to do. But at least they still had the skate park outside.
It probably became liability stuff because it's technically state property, so
I
the
think it was-
city would end up being liable if somebody got hurt.
Well, I think the inside part, what it was, where they had like the PlayStations and the Xboxes, I'm pretty sure some older kids broke in and stole some stuff, and that's why we can't have nice things.
Yeah,
Certain
but they
people
did
can't
keep
be
a
trusted.
lot of that school not well secured. Because I remember back in the day, there was a group of people that broke in there and they had some things. For some reason, they had, I guess, live ammunition stored in the gymnasium.
That might not be safe with a bunch of kids running around in there,
So, some questionable things. Very strange that they would have that.
I mean, we not the high roof, but that little like daycare area on when you're looking at the building to the right. We convinced a kid in high school to jump off of that for a movie we were filming. The movie was called Shit Happens. It was an amateur jackass movie. Yeah, I didn't take part in the first one, but I took part of the second one. I was the getaway driver because I was always able to get my mom's car, so I got to do a lot of the getaway driving.
Jackass was a really cool. Almost every kid
That was like
I
a
know
revolution.
Technically, yeah, that's a 90s
mimicked.
nostalgia.
Yeah, it came out late. Yeah,
It was really
The TV show came out in the 90s, and I think it was early 2000s the movie got released.
Yep.
Oh,
Every
actually,
kid tried to mimic something on there and got messed up. Especially
Definitely,
something to do with a shopping cart.
definitely something I remember from the 90s. Because you guys were talking about wrestling and everything. So, do you remember when they started introducing school planners?
Like the little agenda things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That you would have to carry with you to every class. And
Oh,
everything
yep,
like
yep,
that.
yep.
So, it got really popular in wrestling to bring out the steel chair. So, we would have steel agendas and we would just whack each other in the heads with them all day long. Just walk up behind your friend, steel chair, and just smack them. And then, 2 years later, they were like, all right, we're reducing the size of this planet to this big. I was like, oh, we can't hit each other with them.
WWF was also probably not the best thing for kids to be watching. I know my mom would have not let us watch it if she knew what my dad was letting us watch most nights. I remember in third grade, I specifically remember this, a teacher asking me what Austin 316 meant. I knew what Austin 316 meant, but as a third grader, I could not tell my teacher that the 316 stood for I just whooped your ass.
So I never understood what it stood for either. So what is that literally?
Austin 316 says I just whooped. It's either whooped or kicked. I just kicked your ass.
So why? That sounds like a biblical reference.
John
isn't it?
3:16 is a biblical verse. I know that, and I'm not exactly sure how the two relate. Let me see if I can Google that.
Oh, is he
but-
just mimicking it?
Yeah.
Saying,
Yeah, John 3:16 is for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. It's that verse. So the two don't really have anything to. It's the most popular verse in the Bible,
Right.
Which
So
is probably why he
Steve
chose the
Austin
numbers.
Yeah, that's
was
probably
just
why he went for it.
I'm gonna mimic it, and
Yeah.
just as God's word says, I too say.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of out there on a limb, but I get it.
Yeah, I didn't exactly tell my teacher where it came
What
from,
is-
and
what
she
is-
was just like, "Oh, it sounds
what
like
is
some
the
spy
verse?
stuff."
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten sons, for whoever believes in him may not perish but have everlasting life.
Okay.
So something like that.
said it's the most popular, yet you can't remember it.
Not word for word.
Yeah, no, I get
I
it.
haven't got that far yet. Still reading through. The last thing I have written down here is AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh man.
Here's your
Ding.
free 30-day trial. They wanted everybody on the internet so bad. All right, so this is probably the creepier thing, right? So I remember getting our first computer in the house, and of course I had internet dial-up and things like that. Do you know how much I did not fucking think about when we jumped into chat rooms, and I just was like, that's a girl? That's a girl that wants to talk to me?
ASL?
No, bruh. That was
ASL, H-sex
that was
education.
probably a 40-year-old man
good
trying to
chance.
fuck you in the ass.
Yes,
Yeah.
good chance.
Yeah, that's how I know. That's how I know that kids and stuff are like not prepared for this kind of shit.
Oh, not at all.
You know, like me is just a barely testosterone ridden 12, 13-year-old boy jumping online talking to people who I just believed were probably girls.
I didn't get into random chat rooms. I only used
I
it
did.
to message friends.
Yeah, that's how
I
I
did.
was really only talking to
Mhm.
friends.
That shit got me hard and fast. Like, I don't know why, but
So real quick, back to the Austin thing. I got to give him props because it actually wasn't scripted. Apparently, he just like ad-libbed it and did it off the top of his head when he was cutting the promo for it. Props to that, man. Very creative to just come off the top of the head. But yeah, I guess he just kind of did that almost to like pay homage to the Bible. It looks like, but I mean that's kind of a weird way. This thing right here says at the time Roberts was portraying a born-again Christian, which inspired Austin to ad-lib a famous promo during his coronation, mocking Roberts' religious faith. Ah, so that's what it is. He was mocking his faith and doing such. There it is. Okay.
Roberts.
By
Makes
proclaiming
sense.
the now iconic catchphrase, Austin 3:16 says, "I just whooped your ass."
Who was Roberts?
Was it Jake the Snake
I was
Roberts?
just about to say Jake the Snake Roberts. Maybe.
Let's find out. Yep, Jake the Snake Roberts. Because that was when Stone Cold's rise to fame started at the 1996 King of the Ring. Because he was a wrestler before that, but his character wasn't really taken off too much. I remember him being with Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and Austin used to have like longer blonde hair.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Seeing old pictures of him with the longer, blonder hair is so weird after knowing him as bald, Stone Cold Steve Austin for so many years.
well, it's the same thing if you look at The Rock. Look at his old
Yeah,
persona.
yeah.
It didn't
Rocky
go
Maivia.
anywhere. Yeah, it didn't go anywhere. But
Yep.
then as soon as he became like this suave, muscular, just cut guy,
Mm-hmm. Took off.
yeah,
He was a villain too, wasn't he?
yes.
He was a heel, yeah.
Is that what it's a heel?
Yeah, they call it a heel. So, like, when someone goes from a good guy to a bad guy, they call that the heel turn. Like our guests, Mike and Chris, when we had them, their tag team duo, Mike was definitely more of a heel. Together, they were also kind of both heels, which I liked. I loved their whole shtick of being heels, yelling at the crowd. And that just seems like it would be fun to be a heel because you get to talk crap to everyone and do your best to get everyone to hate you. So, have you guys ever seen The Condemned?
That sounds
I think it's a
familiar.
mid-2000s movie, but it had Stone Cold Steve Austin in it, where they had these felons that were like in prison for life or on death row, and they dropped them all off on an island to basically kill each other, and the last one standing got their freedom.
That's an old.
It's a pretty good movie.
Yeah, that kind of story though that goes back a little bit further than that. That's basically the idea behind Battle Royale. That is
that
a
an old movie?
Royale.
The original one was the 80s.
Yeah,
or
it's
90s?
pretty old.
Then they did a remake in the 2000s.
One of the more famous ones was actually a manga called Battle Royale, and they turned it into a movie, and that got very popular. But then,
That
as soon
movie
as
was
the
so cool.
concept of a Battle Royale was introduced into a game, then we got Fortnite. So
Okay.
the idea of a Battle Royale is highly popular.
Okay.
So that's the same thing with Mockingbird. What are the Hunger Games?
Oh, yeah,
the
Hunger
Hunger
Games.
Games is a
Mm.
Battle Royale. So
Yeah, so it's I guess The Condemned is similar to that. I thought it was pretty good. Stone Cold's the main character, and then that one, he's like a scary English dude that used to be a soccer player. If you guys know
I
who
do
I'm talking
vaguely
about,
remember I remember him in a couple of movies, minor roles.
the English guy or Stone Cold.
Stone Cold.
Ah, yeah.
There was another more recent one, probably about 10 years ago, where it's in the future. Convicts would be given the opportunity to be played, like as an avatar. So, like somebody
Gamer?
would. No, but
I thought it was you talking about the one where they're in a video game.
no, where they're not actually.
Because I think I'm thinking of the same one you are. It's got the dude that plays King Leonidas in 300, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That movie's good.
Yeah, it was pretty
Wait,
cool.
maybe that
Yeah, it's got to be Gamer. That's exactly what that is. I can't think of any
Probably.
other movie.
where the people are convicts and
Mhm.
then they have this program in
Yep.
their head, and then the player jumps in and takes control of their body.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Gamer.
That was all right. That was a pretty good one.
I loved it.
You guys ever seen Repo Man?
Yes,
Love
many years.
Repo
Yeah, I
Man.
thought Repo Man was a good one.
Have you seen Hardcore Henry?
Hardcore Henry.
No, I didn't.
I gotta
I've seen it
Google that.
advertised when it was
You-
first coming out. I completely forgot to watch it.
So good. It's a British freeform film. It's so good. So good.
It's kind of similar to Crank, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crank 1 was probably one of the greatest movies of its time. Crank 2 was awful. Absolute trash.
There's three of them, ain't there?
Probably after 2 I stopped because 2 was just weird.
3
Crank,
probably also wasn't good.
Crank 1
'Cause,
was fantastic.
Yeah, Crank 2 was where he actually survived or something. And
Probably something to do with his heart. Yeah, but Hardcore Henry.
yes, the dude took his heart.
Hardcore Henry is absolutely fantastic. So well done.
What was the first one about? In Crank?
Crank?
Yeah.
He was an assassin who ended up didn't kill the wrong person, but he took the wrong job. Like, he ended up killing somebody, and everybody was like, you really should not have taken that. And then
And-
he gets poisoned with, like, cuttlefish poison, and he only has 24 hours to
That's
live,
right.
and
Yeah,
he wants revenge.
The second one, they removed his heart, and he had to keep
Yep.
his adrenaline
that poison
spike
they-
with the fake heart.
Yeah.
to
That
keep it up.
poison
That
they
one
give
was-
him
that
too
one was not
will kill him if his heart rate drops below a certain level, and that's why he has to keep himself
Keep
cranked
going.
up.
Adrenaline junkie. And then with the cocaine and everything, blah, 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 blah. It was good. It was a good
Adrenaline's a
movie.
hell of a drug, man. That's why I want to go skydiving again.
I mean,
Something
people
about falling through the sky just get your adrenaline going.
jumping off cliffs, all that stuff. Like, actually, literally just risking your life. Like, this could be the very last day you live, and you're just like,
Yeah.
yo, it's worth it.
That's how it was the first time I went skydiving. Is like as we were walking up to the door, it was just kind of one of those like I put my hands out and was like, "All right, God, my life's in your hands." Because like I've always had a slight fear of death, and it's like, well, this is a pretty good way to get over it. You know, you're gonna be falling through the sky, and if that parachute don't open, I mean, parachuting, skydiving's pretty safe. You're more likely to die in a car accident driving to the drop zone than you are
Yeah.
from skydiving itself. But now once you get your license high enough, like to the D-class license where you can do the wingsuit, that's where most of the skydiving accidents happen, because if you don't know how to control one of those wingsuits, it can be a
Yeah.
lot more dangerous.
Well, that's why they got those, like, tunnel machines now and stuff. But
You also, I think you have to have like 500 hours of maybe it's minutes of free fall time before you can do that, and like so many, I think it's like 400 jumps before you can even put on a wingsuit. Quite a few.
makes sense.
Yeah, because we had a
I've
friend
seen
out in
some
Ohio
crazy
getting hurt.
wingsuits.
We had a friend out in
With
Ohio
the
getting her
Clutch Mountains.
license to jump alone. That's something I'd still like to do in the future, is get my license to jump alone.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd get the same, because the second time, like, it was fun skydiving, but I didn't get the same exact rush as I did the first time. Because, like, that first time you don't know what to expect. But the first time you jump alone, I feel like it'd be similar to your first time ever skydiving. Because now it's like, okay, this is all on me to get myself to the ground safely.
Yeah.
That would be another rush.
How many parachutes do you have? 3?
I think only 2. I think there's the
Just
main
2.
and then the backup.
Yeah, if you're first and then your backup fails, obviously something wants you dead.
You got about a minute or two left to repent. And and make good with God at that
I
point.
think at that point it's too late.
I feel like if my second one didn't deploy, like, why even freak out at that point? You might as well just be like, all right.
Didn't one lady live
Yes.
near free fall speed because she hit some kind of what'd she hit? Some
Well,
big bushed area or something like that.
There is a guy, I believe, that survived a 22,000-foot fall.
Jesus. I know there's a story of a girl where somehow something happened with an airplane, and she's like the only person on that airplane that survived. She was like strapped to her seat, and somehow the way she came flying out and landed, something ended up saving her life. She was pretty badly injured.
She got caught in a tree out in the Amazon, and
Something.
she was there for like a week or two.
Yeah,
and by
but-
the time people found her, she had like gangrene, and
Jeez.
she was in rough shape. I think that's a. Yeah, I think I read a.
Your
seen a
will
story
to
about that.
survive at that point has to be
Yeah, it's
outstanding.
nuts. She followed a river or something for.
Which is dangerous. Which is
days.
dangerous in the Amazon. If it
Mhm.
was in the Amazon,
Yeah,
There was a
she
guy
had
on-
How was she not
infections and
eaten?
She part of her like like by a wild animal or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, I don't know.
I know Panthers down there. I think they'll leave you alone, is what the one guy on Rogan was saying. There's a guy on Rogan not too long ago, kind of looked a little like Serge Tonkin, but it wasn't Serge Tonkin, who lives down in the Amazon and like studies things and explores. and-
Oh, I've seen his videos.
Man, did you see the video where he was talking about they were crossing the river the one time and the lady had like a spider in her pants, and he was like, yeah, that thing was just like Morse coding her, and the scary thing is we have no idea what kind of spider it is, and it might be one we've never even identified yet because there's still so many unidentified species, and oh man, the Amazon sounds crazy. I'd almost
Yeah.
like to visit it sometime, but
I think that's one of the guys that always talks about the uncontacted tribes and stuff.
yep, darker hair, slightly curly. Yeah.
Yeah. What
I
they
forget
say
his
about
name.
those tribes is
Can you blame them though for being so hostile towards outsiders with
Absolutely not.
them getting pushed out of their land and their land stolen for just to create farmland and
yeah, absolutely not. And I mean, if we really think about it, just look at history. Every great civilization that we know of so far has fallen to some degree. So when ours finally does,
Mhm.
those are going to be the people whose community survives the best because they've been doing it for this long. Half of like our country is going to starve to death in the first week or kill each other trying to do something because we just don't have the knowledge to keep ourselves alive like that. We're so dependent on the infrastructure that we have. So
Yeah, most people think that food
it just comes from the store.
darts in a grocery store.
Yeah, because
that it just appears there.
yeah.
I mean, I've seen people making comments on Facebook about, not hunting deer. Why don't you just go get your meat from the store like everybody else? And
Yeah.
it's like, well, where do you think that comes from? That comes from a factory farmed animal, which is way more cruel than going out and hunting your own deer that at least lived a happy, free life.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild. It is.
Something I want to do for next year is get my hunting license. Meat's
I
getting
don't know
expensive.
if I could just sit in a tree for hours.
I feel like I
Seems
could.
so
There's times I
bad.
go out in nature and just sit there for a couple hours.
I'd fall asleep in like 10 minutes.
I heard an old tale a gentleman told me one time. I don't know how true it is, but he said when you're out hunting, if you smoke it, they will come. Talking about like a joint, like if you're smoking a joint. And I'm like, I don't know about that, man. It almost seems like if they smelled that, they'd run away. But then again, I've never hunted, so I don't know. Maybe they are attracted to the smell.
But they would instinctually smell it and be like, oh, that's something burning. And if something's burning, that's bad. Right?
It's either that or they'd smell it and be like, oh shit, there's a skunk in the area, run.
Oh, man, throwing back to the good old days.
I think we talked about literally everything the 90s had to offer.
No.
I'm convinced the 90s was peak society, kind of like in the Matrix movie where like late 90s, that was like the peak society, and that's why they modeled the Matrix after it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know that older people in the 60s were saying the same thing about the 50s. They were like, look at all these dirty hippies running around screaming about peace. When
Apparently
just
the
10
hippies-
years ago, everybody had a car. Everybody
Apparently
had
the
their own
hippies were
house,
created
and-
by the CIA. There's a book I'm going to order, and when I do and read through it, we'll have to I almost forget the name of the book. I got it saved on Amazon, but
Do some highlights of it.
we'll have to do. I mean, there's other conspiracy episodes we can do too, and that's one that apparently the anti-war movement at first was a bunch of clean-cut individuals that
For sure.
looked quote unquote normal, that were against the war, and then it's like these undisciplined, dirty hippies came out of nowhere and kind of took over the anti-war movement. And it would be pretty interesting to find out if the CIA kind of created the whole hippie movement. Although I think and maybe they not necessarily created it, but when LSD got released to the public, that could have helped create it.
For sure.
Because things definitely got more colorful after more LSD started flooding the streets, for sure.
Oh, have you guys ever? This is for some reason you said
loud.
Colorful. Yeah, but I had to think, and that's how I thought.
Yeah,
Your
but
hand off the arm.
Shut up! I like it here.
Mine, but down here.
Yeah, because you're a robot.
yeah, you could tap your leg.
There. Have you ever seen the video of the first TV show that got televised, like the transition from it?
I don't think I have.
So, like, all of television was, of course, gray and white tone and everything like that. When it was a big reveal, so they had like a rope and they brought out scissors and they cut it, and then the screen goes colorful. The amount of colors on this screen, like there was 14 shades of yellow and green, and just everything was so vibrant. We went from like everything on the screen was
it the
gray
Munsters?
and white. No. But this was like a live TV show that switched to color mid-show.
Oh. Well, yeah, I know
And-
the Munsters did that in
Yeah,
one of their
yeah.
episodes.
But it's just weird how the television depicted everything as like black and white.
Yeah.
But during that time, vibrant colors were the thing.
Yeah.
And now, as we're reaching like 2030s, everything's going back to like sad boy gray tones.
Mm.
Like in the 80s, even brown was like the color, right? Which was so weird.
Oh, yeah, like suede. And,
Yeah. And now
Corduroy.
we're entering 2023, and McDonald's is like a
I was
gonna say,
depressed
look at
40-year-old.
McDonald's.
Different shades
Yeah.
of gray for everything.
Yeah, but it's like,
Even cars now, most cars that are coming out are either white, some shade of gray, or black. I mean, they're still making colored ones, but recently I even saw like a little graph online that shows like what percentage of cars are what color, and mainly it's just white, shades of gray, and black.
Yeah. But you can see the old photos of like a McDonald's from the 80s where it's got all
The
these
old red
vibrant
and yellow.
colors and the playground, and then a
Taco
McDonald's
Bell.
now.
Do you remember Taco
It
Bell in
looks
the
like an
90s?
office building.
Yeah,
It had-
it looks like an office building, and people compare it. It's like, oh, look, the young spring chicken or youthful, happy person, and now the McDonald's now is, oh, this person's in his 50s and he's miserable.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite looks back in the 90s was Taco Bell. It had the purple, the like teal, there was
Purple,
pink.
Yeah.
Everywhere. I got some pictures pulled up, and it's like, man, that brings back some memories.
I
They
remember their
had
dining
like the
experience.
lounger seats and everything wrapped around, and
Everything had like the diamonds. And
yeah, triangle and circle, and man,
hey, do you guys remember when Pizza Hut was good?
yeah.
I still like pizza.
So like
What?
when I played
Their
Southport,
breadsticks are all right.
when I played
think they're the
Southport Rec
best.
baseball, we were actually the pizza heads because one of the kids on our team, his dad was the regional manager of all the Pizza Huts. So we had like special jerseys compared to everyone else. Where you remember the Pizza Head commercials? There was like a talking slice of pizza.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Holy crap.
You guys
that's-
probably got a bunch of free pizza too.
All the time.
Yeah.
And
That
that's
just,
where I swear I remember Pizza Hut used to be good. Like I used to like it.
That just threw another memory back in my head. I think it was Nickelodeon when they started doing like the live shows. Do you remember the weird one where the two friends in school, the one kid had giant like elephant ears and the one kid had a pizza for a face? Oh, please tell me you remember that.
I remember a pizza face from it was Nickelodeon, right?
Yeah.
So this was
one friend just had giant like elephant ears. The
this
other
was
one,
Pizza Head
Yeah.
from Pizza Hut, and this was what was on our jerseys. We were the Pizza Heads.
Yeah, I remember those commercials. Those were the best commercials. Yeah.
Good
Those were
times.
good commercials. Oh. And then in the 80s, Domino's just had the Noid, which was a crackhead. It's literally a crackhead.
Didn't they bring the Noid back sometime in like the mid 2000s?
Yeah, they wanted to rebrand it, but
Didn't work too well.
Yeah, I didn't see
the whole thing with the Noid was like avoid the Noid, get your pizza within 30 minutes, but it's like we ain't doing that no more, bro.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to convince employees to work harder for you for less money.
Yeah, pay me,
it's not
bitch.
going to happen. It just in the last 2
With
years.
how busy we get too, there's absolutely no way we're getting pizzas out in 30 minutes for delivery. I mean,
Yeah.
we've had on super busy nights wait times of 30 minutes for deliveries. So
or for carryouts. But it's like we don't want to, bro. The last 2 years, the cost of everything for living, everything in life has gone up 20%, but my wage has stayed the same.
mhm.
Go fuck yourself. I'm not working harder for you when you're doing literally nothing for me.
When was it that Domino's started paying 15? Was it 2020?
No. Domino's.
It's got to be somewhere around there, 2019, 2020. So it was, or no, it was shortly. Because I left in 2019, and I think it was already 15, so maybe 2018.
I think, if I remember correctly, the whole initiative started in like 2014. And it was supposed to go up like 75 cents every year until 2018.
Oh,
Okay.
with the whole big movement in New York City for the fight to push minimum to 15.
I know the
Or
rest of
to-
the state will finally be caught up at the beginning of this year, and minimum wage for everything will be 15. So, but yeah, that's crazy that they've just kept it at 15 since 2019, especially because after the situation, the price of things has just steadily been going up and up and up.
Exponentially. It's on average 10% inflation every year.
It's crazy.
But wages have
It has
stagnated.
gone down a little bit, some stuff, because remember when eggs were $6 a carton?
Yes.
That was
There's a
bad.
conspiracy behind that.
There's always a conspiracy.
Well, it's a chicken feed conspiracy that if you were getting your chicken feed from Purina, your chickens stopped laying eggs. And there's this girl that put out a video on TikTok
I'd seen that.
saying she stopped feeding her chickens Purina chicken feed and started getting some locally. And within like 2-3 days, her chickens started laying eggs again. Now, not saying it's something nefarious. It could just be ignorance of an ingredient they were putting in there that they didn't know.
That is true, yeah.
But that's still pretty wild that,
Well,
something that they were eating caused them to become infertile.
I mean, the government made a bunch of farmers just kill off all their animals and halted production.
Dump a bunch of milk, too, didn't they?
Dumped
crazy.
milk. They wanted to kill all their cows off. And
Why?
That's
my
actually
question.
something that they did do, I believe, in the UK and Sweden, where they actually shut down a lot of farms in Sweden, and the farmers have almost revolted against the government.
What are they going to
saying,
do, make them start farming bugs?
They just were like, hey, you can't farm anymore on this land. And they were like, well, why? It's our land. And they're like, actually, under the rules of our government, it's not your land.
We're just letting you lease the land.
Yeah, so it's become a big thing, but yeah, just over the last 2 years, like the price of everything has gone up 19%.
Hey, gas has gone down 10 cents in the last 2 weeks. I'm pretty pumped
Yay.
about that.
Hey, do you remember in like 2017 when it was
$1.90?
$1.90?
Yeah. Oh,
It was
nice.
below $2 in the
Yeah.
beginning of the situation.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason why I went out into nature more places during the first 3 weeks when my job was shut down until they found out they were essential. I'm like, man, gas is cheap. Everyone's staying inside. I like it when I go places where there's no humans. Let me go out to these nice nature places where I know there won't be people.
For sure. Everything's just, it just feels like we keep getting the shit end of it all. You know? It's like, why is it the majority on the bottom rung just have to take the blunt force of everything? Seems pretty fucked. But at the same time, I understand it because the ones that are just gonna be willing to take the shit flying in their face are the ones that just stand there and they're like, yeah, I'm just trying to live my life. Cool. good luck with that.
I'm trying to live my life, but I want everyone else to be able to live theirs the way they want
Yeah.
to without getting
No, I'm saying
shit on.
the ones that are just like,
They're
I
content.
don't want nothing to do with it. I don't want to raise my voice. I don't want to make a ruckus. I'm just going to live.
Yeah,
It's
you don't
like,
want to make
cool.
a ruckus until they come for you for something next, and then you're gonna want people to make a ruckus for you.
I believe it was, I'm going to get this wrong. Solzhenitsyn, who, no. It was a cardinal. I believe a Catholic cardinal, if that's correct. And after World War II, he was like, when they came for the neighbors, I stayed silent. When they came for the Jews, I stayed silent. When they came for me, there was nobody left to speak up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
And
that's
I
what's
bet
gonna
he
happen.
wishes there was somebody to speak up for him, but he didn't speak up for anybody else. So
Yeah, quite literally. That's exactly how human beings operate.
peak society was the end of the 90s, and then 2001 after 9/11 things slowly started going down, and then after Harambe's death in 2016 things just started plummeting fast.
Listen, bro, it all started when we turned on that fucking CERN collider, all right?
I'm pretty sure if they didn't turn on CERN, Harambe would still be alive.
Maybe. I mean, we could just have multiple realities just floating in between each other where there's another one.
I
where
sure hope
Harambe
Harambe
did
is
leave.
alive in one of those other realities.
But in that reality, Hillary Clinton won.
Or
You-
maybe Harambe won.
He may have.
know what?
He very well may have been our first gorilla
Planet
president.
of the Apes. Planet of the Apes.
Yep.
I think Harambe would have made a good leader, for sure.
Probably.
For sure. I think he would have also
I mean,
he would have
did try
exposed
to save a child.
he would have also exposed to us that birds aren't real. Like he
You
knew.
Son of a
He knew,
bitch.
and he would have let us all know. He would have been like, look, guys, I was at a zoo all the time, and they constantly had birds monitoring me, so they're not real. I tried to eat one once and got a bunch of wires in my mouth.
You mean those white things up on the pole? Fuck those things.
So with the birds aren't real, does the government just go around to every single bird that's born and implant cameras into them?
So these are actually, it's a highly advanced technology where these technologies can actually recreate their own technology. There's like a small 3D printer inside of the bird's belly, so it can actually give birth to another bird. So it's like creating new technology. It's like nanoparticles
yeah.
that can create, like not Captain America, but Iron Man's suit when it can repair himself.
Yeah.
It's like that kind of nanotechnology, but that's why you always see them on the power lines too, because they got to recharge and everything.
Actually, that makes complete sense.
Yeah,
So.
So I just can't.
On that note, I think we're done here.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, we can wrap it up if you guys want.
Birds.
We're at 2 hours and 11 minutes.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
That seems-
For
That
a more chill episode.
That was a fun little episode.
We started getting depressing at the end.
Yeah, because we miss it a little bit.
Yeah. 90s.
I'm definitely going to buy some comfort food because remembering the good old days.
It has to be something from the 90s, though. If it wasn't around in the 90s, you can't buy it.
Sherbet and cereal. I don't know.
Pizza. My dad couldn't cook and my mom worked nights, so
Let's
anytime
just
she
go
had
to
to go
Pizza
in at
Hut.
7. Yeah, that would be nice. I miss their dessert pizzas. Do they still have dessert pizzas at this Pizza Hut over here?
Maybe
They had
their,
like a
cookie-
blueberry
I never
one
seen it
and-
on the menu.
Oh,
It might be one of their secret menu items.
that's sad because those dessert pizzas were pretty
I mean,
solid.
Personally, I think the only thing good that Pizza Hut has is their boneless chicken wings.
They got these
depending,
new things that
but
are.
their breadsticks.
They
are
got these new things that almost look like a mini calzone that aren't too bad. I was at my brother's house once, and his fiance had one. And she let me try it. I had the Philly cheesesteak one. It wasn't bad. It was decent.
Didn't they have what do they call it, the pizzone or something?
It's
like
similar
a
to
pizza
something
calzone,
like that,
yeah.
but
But then
not
Papa
quite.
John's had their.
I was going to say the Papa John's ones. They're not bad. I've
They're
had one.
good.
Yeah.
They are good. Papa John's is good pizza. That is really, really good pizza.
I wish we had one near us.
yeah, the
course, that's
closest
again.
is by the mall.
Yeah, but out by the mall.
It's fantastic though.
Yeah, I miss the one in the Heights.
Pizza.
I haven't had Papa John's in so long. I almost can't remember if it's good or not. I used to get it. I used to get it when I was in the Marine Corps.
Probably the best.
The
The better quality of the chain pizzerias, yes.
Yeah.
I'd say, in the Marine Corps it was good, but I don't know if that means it'd be good up here, because what's strange is, like, every place in North Carolina, like, corporate food place that they also have up here, for some reason the food down there in North Carolina was always better than up here.
shipped from different places.
The CC's pizza down there was so good, and the one we had up here was trash. I don't know if it's because the workers just don't give a fuck, or I don't know what it is.
Nobody knew what they were doing.
Nobody knew what they were doing, or just didn't care, took no pride in their work.
Oh, you mean the CC's up here?
Yeah, I think
Wasn't
the
that
dude
around
hired.
for like a month?
I think it was a
Wasn't
couple
long.
months. He hired everybody in like 3 or 4 days before the place opened. They didn't really know what they were doing. Something like that. Yeah, they didn't have much training.
I know taking pride in the food you're making helps, because it's strangely the food at the chow halls in Iraq was better than the food at the chow halls on base here stateside. Crazy how that works. Like, that was actually one thing people always said about Iraq is like, man, I miss how the food was better at the chow halls in Iraq than it was stateside.
Well, it was probably because a lot of food here in the United States is overprocessed and everything. So when you were in Iraq, it was probably cheaper to have it shipped more locally.
We had a bunch of third country nationals in the kitchen working, so they probably did take a little more pride in what they were making, especially the curry. Man, they had different kinds of curry like every day, red, green, there was I think a yellow curry.
Curry's delicious.
Love curry.
Yeah, every day they had curry, man. It was I developed a weird habit in Iraq of eating spaghetti or some kind of noodles with brown gravy.
Okay.
Yeah, strange habit. It was actually pretty good.
I mean, gravy is really good.
Yeah. I used to do it just for like
Not
extra
English gravy.
calories.
Like American gravy is good. English gravy is nasty.
What's the
had it.
English one? Is that like the cream colored or like lighter
it's
colored?
It's very strange.
Yeah, I like the brown gravy, not like chicken or turkey gravy, but actual brown.
Yeah. When I got curry one time, it was in Connecticut. I made the mistake of telling them make it as spicy as you can. I like spice, but man, that took me a while to finish that. My mouth was on fire.
They were letting you know they don't play. Them southern states, they don't play with their hot stuff. You said North Carolina?
I think it was Connecticut.
Oh, Connecticut? Yeah, I was gonna say if you were.
I never went south. I never went below PA.
Yeah.
Went west
Thought
and
you said you
north.
went
But...
south. All right. Do you want to throw the outro?
Yeah, I think that's gonna be it for today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, eventually TikTok. We just got to get a burner phone because we don't want that trash on ours.
Hopefully, eventually Spotify.
Chinese spy
too.
software.
What's that?
Try to figure out how to get on Spotify too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
I got that one site. I got to look into that more. That's my fault.
Yeah, it's kind of tough.
Hey, I think we all keep forgetting.
This job and another job.
Yeah, like
It is a second job. It's kind of rough.
yeah. Normally, I get off either Tuesday or Wednesday. The next 2 days, I'm going to be working, so it's going to be like 16, 17 hours of work each day for the next 2 days. Yeah, that's all right. I'll get it done.
Oh. If anybody watching has any kind of animation experience, reach out to us. We want to get a few small things animated, or at least try to learn how to do it ourselves.
We
If
are
you got
looking
some
for that.
pointers, or if you want to join us, let us know.
That could be cool.
Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful time.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Yeah.